roots across the plains. Hope rekindles in the crimson tide, as freedom's anthem calls our names. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Fields of dreams are ripe once more. Factories hum with honest pride. Our banner waves on every shore, with courage marching by our side. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Through trials dark, we found our steel. The eagle's cry breaks through the night. In unity, our wounds now heal. We chase the dawn with fearless light. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day.
Hey, how's everybody doing on a Friday evening? How you doing, Jade?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Rich?
I'm all right. I'm here.
I like that heavy metal at the end of the.
I was trying to. I did it in Suro, and I was trying to get the drummer to match, and I failed miserably. I've always been a guitarist, so. Yeah. How's everybody doing out there? Let's see. Hey, what's up, Spanish Chicken? Commander. There you go. High salute, sir. I see Anglo. Whoa. Hey, everybody's here. Wow. Bass. Good to see you. Take two drums. How you doing, brother? And Paka. Salute, my friend. Simon, what's going on? We got a lot of other people that are coming tonight, I believe. Hey, what's up, Chill?
Welcome to everyone.
Yeah. How you guys doing? Another freaking fire hose, man, of news this week. Y'all heard about Comey and other stuff? Yeah, let me see.
And I don't think we're going to be talking about it much, if at all, but to all our Canadian friends, and you probably know that a long ago and far away, I was Canadian. There's a crap load going on in Canada, too. It looks like Alberta and Quebec just made the deal that looks like they're actually going to hit the hot button and put the referendum forward.
And everybody's, they'll never do it. They won't leave.
Well,
they're like the money engine.
Yeah, we're going to see Alberta and Saskatchewan together make up a third of the total Canadian GDP.
Right. And how much do we give them?
Anyway.
Yeah, everybody hit that like button, please. If you haven't already, thank you. Let's just take a look at what we got this week. Where are we? Jabberhouse.com. So the first one, James Comey indicted by grand jury. You can't say it was Donald Trump. It was a grand jury that did it. charges of lying to Congress and obstruction. I would have hit him with lying to a FISA court, because that's even bigger, because he did lie. And we know this because Bruce Orr, who was the deputy assistant attorney general at the time, he took them all into a room, and Comey was there, and he took them all into a room and said, don't use this dossier because it's garbage. They're like, how do you know? They hired my wife to write it, and he went and used it anyway. So he lied to a FISA court, which is a major felony.
And also, isn't it, what's his name? McCabe
was
Congress
there.
And
Yeah,
who was questioning? One of the senators was questioning Comey, and he said, either you're lying or McCabe is lying. Which one is it?
Yeah.
And Comey did his usual, well, I'm not going to talk about,
he's even fighting back now. He's like, oh, Trump just can't let me go. And so, no, you freaking weaponized the government against him. You tried to pull his actual win away. You tried to put him in prison, for Christ's sake.
For the rest of his life.
Now, does anybody, I had this up here since this morning, disgraced former FBI director James Comey expected to surrender today, Friday morning. But has anybody heard? Because I don't see anything that says that he actually surrendered himself. Yeah, financial advisor, liberal calls for a bankruptcy if nothing changing. Yeah. See, Tylenol memes are getting crazier. Yeah. There's a lot of crazy people out there. There's still people out there that are trashing Charlie Kirk. I mean, let the guy rest in peace. He did nothing wrong. There we go. FBI bombed. What's that?
Last point about Canada. Just to go back on what Chill Canuck said. If Alberta and Quebec, because Quebec has a lot of manufacturing, but they're a net.
Where is it?
They're a net taker of the distribution payments. But if Alberta and Saskatchewan and maybe Quebec leave, all Comey's got to do, he'll just devalue the Canadian dollar like crazy and pay off his debt like 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. So here's one, all you guys. FBI bombshell. 274 agents were sent to the Capitol for January 6th. Many later complained that they were political pawns. We knew this. We know this. Well, there were about 24 informants. No, they were FBI agents. 274 of them. A red state superintendent announces Turning Point USA chapters in every high school. They thought that they were going to end Turning Point USA. They just made it stronger. The Hildebeest smears Christians after Charlie Kirk tragedy. Well, why didn't we see that coming? Trump admin, you know what it is? They're saying, here's the genius of them. And I mean that. It's evil genius. They know they can't fuck with Christians because you mess with Christians and you got like 73% of the population against you, right? So it's just Christian nationalism. That's what it is. Christian nationalists. Those guys are like the Nazis because they're nationalists, right? So the stupidity reigns there still. But she actually smeared Christians. And if they don't say Christian, it says MAGA Christians. Same thing. The Trump admin actually did reunite with Musk and in pursuit of AI dominance, benefit of the country. John Bolton, his classified documents related to WMD strategic comms found. He's going to prison. I don't think they're going to cut him a deal. U.S. economy, here you go. They're all saying last month, oh, it's jobs. That's because it's not working. Joe Biden was better. The U.S. economy grew even more than thought from April through June. Trump says, I'm a bit shocked, to be honest. All right. Cash Patel.
Yeah, and we were also equally shocked when the 1.4 million jobs that Biden created last year had that fake. Minus almost a million just taken away from it.
They were all fake.
Most of them
they
were
made
fake.
them up. Yeah, they made them up.
Basically, they made them up.
Yeah, they just added them.
And they
didn't care if they got caught.
The ones they didn't make up were basically fake government jobs that they just expanded the government.
They also found out, because there were people that did a study on it, that throughout his entire 4 years, the majority group that got jobs were illegal aliens.
Yeah, apparently a lot of the illegal aliens got jobs.
They got jobs, yeah. And Americans need not apply. Kash Patel releases disturbing details about the ICE shooter's ideology, and it counters the press narrative. Of course it does. The press always like, well, he's a white guy. And he had a gun. It's got to be a MAGA, right?
You grew up in a Christian home. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So a MAGA white guy is going to shoot into an ICE facility. These people are not working on all cylinders up there. Vance slams Democrat media for encouraging crazy people to commit violence, and that's what they do. More than symbolic resistance, flyers posted on Georgetown's campus advertise a new extremist group that celebrates when Nazis die. There you go. DOJ is investigating the Soros Foundation, and this idiot behind him is his son, and he destroyed the foundation. He made the worst bets on money for what the fund, and they just lost everything. Big breaking video. DOJ reveals Dallas ICE facility shooter hoped to terrorize ICE employees with a mass shooting. Yeah, he's a big MAGA guy. And Tyler Robinson made contact with a cop while attempting to retrieve the rifle used to assassinate Kirk. I want to read that one. And then the typical...
Why does that remind me of JFK? You know the whole JFK story.
Oh, yeah.
And
hey, Chris, what's up? Good to see
you. Where... what's his name he ran away from the Texas Book Depository, and he went through and he was walking down the street. Why can't I remember anybody's names anymore? My brain is going. I'm doing a Joe Biden right here. I can't remember the name of the cop, but he ran into a cop and shot him.
Shot the cop?
Yeah.
Who did?
Oh, come on. Help me out.
The shooter?
Yeah.
Really? Oswald?
Oswald. He shot
Oswald shot him? You have Sometimers disease. You should get that looked at.
Yeah.
I've had it for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently, yeah, Oswald jumped down and he ran in. Tibbetts?
Why'd he shoot a cop?
Officer Tibbetts?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Why'd he shoot a cop?
I think the cop was getting a little suspicious because they put out on all the radios.
Well, this Tyler, did you see some of the video of him, the way he was walking to his shooting spot? He stuffed the gun down his pant leg and he's walking. And nobody said, does that look a little weird to you? Tippets. All right, let's go. Let's start with this one. It's about time. James Comey indicted by grand jury on charges of lying to Congress and obstruction. I could think of 9 other ones. If I was shit-faced drunk, I could at least give you 3 more. So James Comey, remember him? The man who ran the FBI during one of the most disgraceful episodes in modern history. Well, he's finally been indicted. The grand jury nailed him on 2 counts. There were 3, actually. They nailed him on 2 counts. False statements to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. I wonder, I'm trying to look up how many years that is, but I can't say it. Now, Fox News Digital broke the story. Back in July, they reported Comey was under investigation. The question was simple. Did he lie under oath in September 2020 about how he handled the FBI's Trump-Russia probe, the one that they called Crossfire Hurricane? Turns out prosecutors think he did. Pam Bondi, the attorney general, wasted no time. She said flat out, no one is above the law. And I love when they throw that in these pricks' faces, because that's what they kept saying every time they threw lawfare at Trump. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case. It doesn't matter. All the news outlets say, oh, this is just revenge. You only get revenge on someone who screwed you over, right? It's like, you don't, hey, man, hey, Tommy, how you doing, buddy? Look, I'm going to get revenge on you. For what? Yeah, come on. They think you're stupid. And the FBI's current director, Kash Patel, didn't hold back either. He posted, today your FBI took another step in its promise of full accountability. But Patel drove it home. He said, for too long, previous corrupt leadership, well, I better go up. For too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust. That they did. Every day we continue to fight to earn that trust back And under my leadership, this FBI will confront the problem head on. Epstein files. Nowhere was this politicization of law enforcement more blatant than during the Russiagate hoax, a disgraceful chapter in history we continue to investigate and expose. And then this, everyone, especially those in positions of power, will be held to account no matter their perch. I thought that was good.
That may be the only statement with which I have been in agreement with Democrats for like 20 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that take two.
No one is above the law.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. They're going nuts. And what was it? Someone also, they want a bill. What the hell was the bill? Had to do with oh yeah, they wanted trans a bill of rights for trans.
Yep.
And I was like, holy crap! They really did say that, didn't they?
And Rich, I did remember correctly. It was Officer Tippit.
I thought it was Tibbetts.
Tippit. Tippit.
Oh, okay.
Tippit.
Yeah.
I thought it was Tippett's, actually. It's Tippit. J.D. Tippit.
So hang on, let me show you this.
And
yep.
He was in the neighborhood and he was shot by Oswald.
Wow. Here we go. I'm going to show you this one real quick. So this is what came up. It said, breaking, Dems they're pushing Resolution 269, forcing government to establish a transgender Bill of Rights. Sign up to say no. And so what I did was I posted, in the immortal words of Bohemian Rhapsody, no. They don't want equal rights. They want special rights. These are the same people who are going around shooting Christians. I think the rest of us need the Bill of Rights against these mentally ill killers.
I would ask one question.
What's that?
We have a Bill of Rights. Why does somebody...
Because they want special rights.
A different Bill of Rights. That's
right.
Like,
they want special rights. That's
the
what
Bill
they
of
want.
Rights makes us equal. Some want to be more equal than others.
Right. The thing is, well, they don't believe in God. They believe they are gods. Because see, Christians believe, this is why they keep shooting Christians. Christians believe that only God has dominion over humanity. They think they are gods because they can change their gender. That's what it is. And when we tell them no, they say, well, your speech is killing me. I mean, I saw this black trans that ran up. There was a guy that was doing a show, and there were people in the audience, and he was talking about trans, and he was trying to be helpful, you know. And this trans, I guess, woman came, I guess that's what you call them, came running up on stage, grabbed the mic, and said, black trans women are being killed all over the country. And dude was standing there looking at her and go, really? Can you name one? Oh, who do you think you are? And the reason why they get away with it is because they have allowed, it's our problem. We have allowed them to define our speech as violence. And like Jade always says, you know, our speech is violence. Their violence is free speech. And that's what they've done. And so now they're going to say, we need a Bill of Rights. And it'll probably say that you have to use their preferred pronouns. You have to use their right name that they chose. I mean, it would never pass, but the Democrats are actually pushing for it.
Yeah,
it's
you know,
crazy.
That passed in Canada. It's actually a crime with quite a significant, I guess fine. I guess
that's crazy. So if you're in a room with 100 trans people, you have to remember every they, them, z, their. No.
Yeah, all I know is if you deliberately misgender someone,
yeah, and that's up to the person that's charging you.
That you have broken a law.
That's crazy. Yeah, Canada they've fallen.
Canada, there's no hope.
Their government has fallen. I'm sorry. The people are awesome. Most of them, anyway.
Yeah.
But wow.
Canadians are great. Yours truly being a prime example.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's go to the next one. This is the one I'm going to see if they updated it.
Oh, I like take two. Yeah, I like take two. What he said.
Oh, what did he say? I didn't see it.
I'll have a look.
I only use pronouns. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. Now, if they pass a law like that, they should also add in there to say, okay, if you're going to do this law, then there should be a universal noun that everybody can use. So that they, you know, like, hey, or you, preferably, I would choose asshole. Go up to a train. Hey, asshole. Yes. Yeah. That's what I would do anyway, because that's what they are. If they want to force you. So, disgraced former FBI Director James Comey expected to surrender today, Friday morning. I still can't tell if he did. So maybe they updated. Let me see if they updated down below. No, they didn't. Oh, well. On Thursday evening, the Department of Justice finally dropped the hammer on one of the most crooked swamp creatures in American history. And he is still out there crying the blues. I have no fears. I did nothing wrong. I'm sorry. They have all the evidence against you, you dumbass. You did a lot of things wrong. Disgraced former FBI Director James Comey was indicted on 2 felony charges, making false statements and obstruction of justice. A grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia. See, I'm glad they got that shit out of D.C. You know, I mean, Virginia's still, you know, as long as it wasn't Northern Virginia. The Eastern District of Virginia returned 2 counts against Comey just days after President Trump demanded that his DOJ act now. Now, the reason why, he said, do it now, because the statute of limitations is 5 years for that. Next Tuesday, it would have expired. But then what they should have done is transferred the case to New York, where they could actually twist these statute of limitations around and make them valid again by poof, magic, the way they did to Trump, right? James Comey built his career on dishonesty and abuse of power. He repeatedly lied to Congress and the FISA court to secure illegal warrants against President Trump and his allies during the hoax Russiagate witch hunt. Comey knew as early as 2016 the Steele dossier was fabricated opposition research, yet he used it anyway to weaponize. See, there's a thing on top when you file for a FISA warrant that says that you swear upon penalty of perjury and whatnot. And if an FBI agent, even anybody in the FBI, number one rule, you get caught lying on a case, you're fired. Now you go, why? One time? Yeah, because you can never be trusted in court again. Because if you got to go to court to testify against a perp, right? The perp's lawyer, first thing, didn't you get sanctioned and suspended for lying under the oath? Yeah, that's what they'll do. And so they fire you. So he knew he lied. He committed a felony, especially under the FISA system, because it's a secret system for terrorism. So they did this whole thing. See, the FISA court was to keep other FBI agents from seeing what you're doing, because you're going after terrorists. That's what it was mostly used for. And you were in a system by yourself. They had to get it into the FISA system so they could prevent anybody else in the agency from looking up their records to see what the hell they're doing. So for years, he operated as a partisan hitman inside the Bureau, greenlighting lawless spying operations and leaking strategy to the press to damage Trump. Let's see. In typical swamp fashion, a defiant Comey lashed out in a video. Oh, we got to see that. Let's see. View tab. Where is it? Do you guys see this? The video?
I think I did.
Yeah, because StreamYard. No, I mean, do you see it now?
Oh, yeah, he's cut off at his eyebrows.
Yeah, I know that's not me. That's him.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way.
Yeah.
We will not live on our knees.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't either.
Well, you should.
Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant.
Yeah.
And she's right. But I'm not afraid. And I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are
I'm sorry, he's shitting bricks right now.
Engaged. You are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it. Which it
they did, and that's why you are being indicted.
does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice.
Oh shit! Operation Crossfire Hurricane, right there.
But I have great
his heart is
confidence
broken.
in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Can you imagine what kind of a mental patient he has to be to do that? I mean, I understand where they try to, like he's trying to screw with the jury pool. And I understand that they do that, but he literally is looking you in the eye. I'm innocent. He knows he's guilty. He knows they have all the evidence against him because he's guilty.
Okay, Rich, do
Unbelievable.
it. Do it. Remember what I told you pre-show? Do it.
Do what? Oh, okay. I am not a crook. Remember that, guys? Same thing.
Remember who that was?
Except Comey is a crook. Yeah, the older people will know who that. I am not a crook. Well, you know, yeah. But,
Actually, you are.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's kind of like.
Actually, I don't think he was. I would argue.
Was it?
He was a liberal.
It was Jasmine Crockett who said, "Just because you commit a crime doesn't mean you're a criminal."
Yeah. She actually said that.
Wait,
lawyer.
wait,
Yeah, lawyer.
wait. Just like, wait. And
Hey, what's up, Chris?
And
Good to see you.
she is a lawyer.
Yeah, she's a lawyer. Yeah.
She needs her money back from law school. That's all I know.
Yeah. Take her license, but yeah. Well, you know what happened to her? There's all kinds of video of her where she was she was
a human being.
Yeah, she was. She was an actual human being. And then she saw, like, she was very prim and proper. She was very professional in court and then outside of court when she spoke to the press and all that. And then what happened was she gets into Congress and she's that way. And she realized that the squad was getting a shit ton of money, and because people donate to their causes, their liberal causes, and they were getting all the celebrity of everything. And so she wanted that. Her and Ayanna Presley, she's the same way. She got in there and went all nuts, except she tried to keep some kind of professionalism to her nuttiness, right? But Jasmine went all cowgirl, crazy, So that's that. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, guys, you're gonna love this one, and I mean that jokingly. All right. FBI bombshell: 274 agents sent to the Capitol for January 6th. Many later complained they were political pawns. In fact, out of all them, I think it was only 3 that were given a mission. 3, and they were not to tell the others. The FBI secretly deployed more than 250 plainclothes agents to the U.S. Capitol during the January 6, 2021 riot, an operation so disorganized it unleashed searing frustrations among many of the FBI's rank and file. But they were living under a communist regime, so they couldn't say anything out loud. I mean, the Biden administration was firing FBI agents that spoke out loud, but then they weren't really firing them. They were putting them on pause. And the reason why it was to add more pain, because when you're still under contract as an FBI agent, you can't work any other job. And so, like the one guy, he spent 9 months not being able to work. Because he would have got arrested if he worked to try to earn money, and his wife had to earn all the money, and he just couldn't. What pricks they are to do that, because he was a whistleblower. I thought Eric Charmel and all that. I thought a whistleblower, Adam Schiff for Brain, said whistleblowers are virtuous. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread. We love them, right? Virtuous. And yet here the Biden administration treated them like they were criminals. Just unreal. Scores of FBI agents and personnel, many from the Bureau's premier Washington field office, sent anonymous complaints to the After Action team. Now, why are we only hearing about this now? To the After Action team, detailing how agents were sent into an unsafe scenario without proper safety equipment or the ability to identify themselves readily as armed officers to other police agencies, the report obtained by Just the News. Unreal. Just unreal. The most persistent complaint was that the Bureau during the James Comey and Chris Wray era had become infected with political biases and liberal ideology that treated the protesters from the summer 2020 Black Lives Matter riots far differently than those arrested in the aftermath of the January 6th episode. Quote, the FBI should make clear to its personnel that the public, geez, I can't read, that despite its obvious political bias, it ultimately still takes its mission and priorities seriously. One employee wrote in a stinging review, it should equally and aggressively investigate criminal activity regardless of the offender's perceived race, political affiliations, or motivations. This guy's got to go. And it should equally and aggressively protect all Americans, regardless of perceived race, political affiliations, and motivations. That agent urged FBI leaders to identify viable exit options for FBI personnel who no longer feel it is legally or morally acceptable to support a federal law enforcement and intelligence agency motivated by political bias. One agent suggested the problem extended beyond the Bureau to D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, indicating a more widespread problem with political bias. We've known this for years. They just didn't try to hide it anymore. Quote, currently, the U.S. Attorney's Office is dictating what it is that gets investigated. This is a dangerous precedent because we can barely get them to prosecute investigations that clearly meet thresholds needed for federal prosecutions, the agent wrote. However, their willingness to conduct a search warrant on someone's life for a misdemeanor seems ridiculous. It is unreasonable for the FBI to conduct investigations involving misdemeanor violations at a federal level. It's not our role. But it was political, so that's why they made it their role. Many of the agents' feedback focused on the Washington field office and its culture. WFO is a hopelessly broken office. That's why now you know why Kash Patel said, when I become the head of the FBI, I'm going to turn that building into a museum, because there's 3,000 people in that building. We're going to send them out all across the country so that they can do what they're supposed to do, catch bad guys. And he said, why should there be 3,000 people in that building? There shouldn't be. So, field WFO is a hopelessly broken office that's more concerned about wearing masks and recruiting preferred racial sexual groups than catching actual bad guys. Another added, I wish you all would pay more attention to our safety than what type of masks we wear. If you're going to deploy us to a riot situation, then give us the proper damn safety equipment, helmet, face shield, protective clothing, and training. Yeah, see, because it was all symbolism over substance with the libnuts. That's what it always, every liberal administration we've had, it's all about symbolism over substance.
Yeah, in this case, I'm absolutely sure there was one other consideration. One of their goals was to have people injured, preferably police injured, and they put them in there. They were hoping a few FBI officials got trashed. Yeah. That was their goal.
Oh yeah.
They wanted to see. They wanted to be able to come out and say, "Look at this! They attacked the police, and how many of them were hurt, and how many died." That was their agenda.
If there was no riot that day, the end result would be on the 11 o'clock news. You would see that, one of those MAGA extremists put a pipe bomb outside the DNC building. The vice president-elect, Kamala Harris, was actually in that building and could have been harmed. That's what they wanted. And yet they still don't know who the pipe bomber is. The premier law enforcement agency of the world can't find out who it was. It's because they know who it was. It was one of them.
In a city that has more cameras than most.
In London. Yeah. More cameras, more CCTV than London. Yeah. They could have back followed it. There's two ways to get in. You drive or you take public transportation.
Yeah, but it's very simple. They wanted to see people hurt. They wanted to be able to come out and crack down on MAGA because cops were injured.
Well, here's the overarching thing was, you had a sitting president that was accusing his opposition party of stealing an election. Okay. And they wanted that. Then he brought people to protest the certification, of the election. So they felt that if enough people were outside protesting, right, that the Congress would get, because you can put a pause to it. You need a member of the House and a member of the Senate. They're saying, I want to hold off on this. Well, they did it, but they continued to do it because Mike Pence didn't want to get involved. Mike Pence turned around and said, I didn't have a role there. And I'm like, you were not just the vice president. You were the president of the Senate. Of course you had a role. What's up, Bobby? Good to see you, man. Yeah, of course he had a role. And so what they wanted to do was to make it look like Trump was just a crybaby and his people were just violent. And so nobody wants him for president. Who can believe him what he says about us stealing the election when he behaves like this. That's what they did. And that's why they started firing rubber bullets and tear gas into a peaceful crowd, because people tend to get pissed off.
And yeah, that's why they went in. They riled them up. They got into fights. Still nobody got hurt.
Right.
They had to make it up.
Well, the one girl got killed, Ashley.
Yeah, not because of us.
Right. Not because of us is right. All right,
Yeah,
here we go.
And then there was a bit of scuffling.
Right.
And then one guy dies of a stroke the next day, and that's obviously due to what
Sickwick.
the crowd did to him. Yeah, I forget his name.
Sickwick.
Yeah.
It was Officer Sickwick. And then Tucker Carlson proved with some of the videos that were released by Mike Johnson, speaker. He said Sickwick was supposed to have died that day or the next day. And he goes, but here he is right here doing his job. And he's watching him go around. He goes, they told us that he got hit in the head with a fire extinguisher, but he's wearing a police helmet. He goes, I don't see any dents on it. Like, what the hell, And that's why he got fired from Fox, because the Democrats immediately went to Paul Ryan and said, get rid of him, fire him, because Paul Ryan's on the board there. So here you go. Red State Superintendent announces Turning Point USA chapters in every high school. I like this idea. If you can have all the liberal clubs, why not have one of these, right? Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction Ryan Walters announced Tuesday that every high school in the state will establish a Turning Point USA chapter, a move he said is designed to promote free speech, civic engagement, and honest discussions about America's history and values. It'll probably be right next to the gun club, the trans gun club. Walters said the initiative comes in response to strong interest from parents, teachers, and students who want to see more opportunities for open dialogue in schools. Quote, I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. Good. Walters said, we have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in a meaningful work going on at Turning Point. They want their young people to be engaged in a process that understands free speech, open engagement, dialogue about American greatness, a dialogue around American values. We're so excited to partner with Turning Point USA with this initiative. The superintendent said the program is intended to push back against the influence of what he called radical agendas in the classroom. That's been going on for a dozen years. For far too long, we have seen radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids. They fight parents' rights. They push parents out of the classroom, and they lie to our kids about American history. Well, that's true. That's all we need to know.
That's probably the very best way to counter the universities drift towards
what's up, Rangus? What's up, Colonel?
Far left. Yeah. The universities drift towards far left. This is the best way. Get the kid. They want to indoctrinate. Well, let's indoctrinate them earlier.
You know what else? You know what else these Turning Point USAs do? It's kind of like, have you ever heard of apologetics? Apologetics is I got into it for a while. It's the study of how to prove that there is a God and all that. Okay, and you do it with rational thought and all that. Well, that's exactly what Turning Point USA chapters are teaching the young people, how to rationally kick someone's ass in a debate on politics, like how to do it rationally. Jimmy from Philly in the house, everyone. Hey, what's up, Louie? Good to see you. Yeah, so I think it's a good idea to put them. If you can have like Hispanic Culture Club and Trans Culture Club, you can certainly have Turning Point USA. I don't see anything wrong with it. Here we go. Another scumbag trashing Kirk. Hillary Clinton. She smears Christians after Charlie Kirk tragedy. All right. So former Secretary of State is facing criticism after comments on MSNBC, which stands for More Silly Nonsense by Chicks, Morning Joe on Wednesday, in which she appeared to equate Christian conservatism with efforts to turn progress back in the United States. Speaking with hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, Clinton praised the nation as a work in progress. Yeah, sure. Still, he warned against what she described as attempts to recreate a past dominated by white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology. Well, excuse me, if a shit ton of people in the country when it was founded were white. Let me find.
I imagine that's a typo. She warned. I imagine.
Yeah. I'll show you something after this. Let's see. We haven't gotten to the more perfect union. She doesn't understand. Of course she does. She's lying. That in order to form a more perfect union meant that we're always going for time and more. We're always going to try to make things better. That's what it means. We haven't gotten to a more perfect union, Clinton said. And people have been protesting for hundreds of years that things were not as they should be. Yeah, because you progressives have screwed everything up. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, certain religion, certain point of view, certain ideology. So you want white women of a certain persuasion, certain religion, because that's exactly what she was pushing, right? Liberalism, women over men. I mean, come on. That's what she did. It is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And she won't tell you what we should be aiming for. Clinton added that such efforts were doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. It seems like it's a little overkill in that sentence. She ironically urged Americans to stop demonizing each other. Are you shitting me? Holy mackerel. But immediately attributed most of the division to the political right. Is this not amazing that they do that? Like, I don't, when Charlie Kirk was murdered, there were no riots. We didn't go shooting people, burning houses down, demanding money.
We haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war over part of it.
She looks
and people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be in our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock
They're looking at her like, you're full of shit.
back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion.
Now, would anyone get away with saying, let's say it, white women or black women? I mean, come on.
A certain
Why did they get away
religion,
with it?
a certain point of view, a certain ideology. It's just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for.
Yeah, and going around and claiming that the Russians stole the election from you, that did no damage to the country at all. What are you talking about?
And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree
Look at Joe. Joe is sitting there like, I can't wait until she's freaking done and out of here.
with you. We were on the right trajectory.
Let me.
Good
We-
Lord.
And Joe and Mika on their show the other day, they're out there and criticizing JD when he made his speech. Oh,
It's all dummy.
I hate to say it, but you know what? Colonel, you're right. You're right.
It's
Oh
all
my
dummy
God.
without makeup.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, what was I saying? I saw a clip from their show, and Joe was saying he was criticizing JD when he went on, and he was saying, "No, this is left-wing violence." And Joe was there. Why do they have to politicize this? Why can't we just calm it down? Why? And I'm thinking to myself, he's saying that because if he doesn't say that, you guys are going to say it was the right wing. And
Right.
how do I know this? Because you already did it. You already tried to make, what's his name, Robertson, a right wing. You already have tried to make this guy, John, a right wing. And
Yeah.
you already said it. So why is JD Vance doing that? Why are people doing that? Because if we don't, you are going to use it against us.
Yeah, I know. Here, let me play this. This was sent to me earlier today, and it's Charlie Kirk, and he makes a lot of the arguments that I always do, but he is so much more eloquent when he does it. Ready? All right, let's go back.
Our country was not founded on Christian principles, because the
Listen to this.
Declaration only refers to God 4 times, and the Constitution doesn't refer to God at all.
What do you hear his
And it
response?
only articulates
love
the
it.
structure of government.
Remember that we were a collection of states and colonies, and you need to read the state constitutions before anything else. 9 out of 13 of the original states required you to be a Bible-believing Christian to serve in government. Actually, 13 out of 13 required a declaration of faith.
Wouldn't
9 out
be
of 13 required you to be a Protestant, except Maryland, which was Catholic, which still required a declaration of faith. In almost every single one of the original state constitutions, Pennsylvania included, they had, I profess Lord and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in the original state constitution. So you remember, we're a collection of states before that. Secondly, 55 of the 56 of the original signers of the Declaration were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. You asked about common law. So common law is inherited from Blackstone, who was Christian. Common law is an outgrowth of the scriptures. So let's go to three principles of common law: due process and jury of your peers, wrapped into the ultimate biblical principle that you shall not favor justice if you are rich or poor, which is in Leviticus 19, right before the most famous part of Leviticus 19, which is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. But before that is that in the administration of justice, you shall not favor the rich or the poor, which is the idea of blind justice. We get that in the West, which is incorporated also in the New Testament ideal: neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, you're all one in Jesus Christ, which we get the idea of human equality. But more importantly than that, they say that God was only mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. Well, that's a big deal. Okay. Laws of nature and nature's God. The last paragraph of the Declaration reads as a prayer. It says, we appeal to the supreme judge of the universe. Who's the judge of the universe? Jesus Christ. It says in Revelation that Jesus will judge the earth on his throne. So in the Declaration, they were praying to Christ our Lord as a prayer very specifically. Thirdly, as I said on the stage yesterday, Deuteronomy was by far the most quoted book, religious or non-religious, in the time of the founding when they were putting together the Constitution. But finally, and most importantly, let's look at actually what the founders said. John Adams famously said the Constitution was only written for a moral and religious people. It was wholly inadequate for people of any other. The body politic of America was so Christian and was so Protestant that our form and structure of government was built for the people that believed in Christ our Lord. One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. You cannot do not have a Christian population.
That is correct.
So the Constitution mentions God 4 times. That's obviously proof that they didn't care about God. Obviously.
Yeah.
What? Wait.
You know, there were several of the signers of the Declaration, and also the founders who worked on the Constitution that were actual pastors, right? One wrote a specific Bible, and then we know that Thomas Jefferson wrote the Jefferson Bible, which was just the words of Jesus, right? So, but they say, oh, he was a deist. Then why did he write a book? If he didn't think Jesus was a deity, why did he write a book? His version of the Bible, which I have over on the table behind me, because I read it. I mean, what the hell, you know? Hey, what's up, Linda? How you doing, girlfriend? What's going on?
So, but would he have the same argument if God was mentioned 10 times? Oh, they only mentioned it 10 times. They couldn't really, you know.
Well, he said, well, only mentioned 4 times. Well, that's a big deal. You know, you're writing a document that is creating a government, a federal government. And they put God in there 4 times. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
no, he wasn't. No.
If
in fact, hold on. Let me finish this. Louis, Thomas Jefferson actually created a church inside the congressional building. He in the House of Representatives, he created a church. It got so popular that he had to create a second church, and that church was in the War Department, believe it or not. And then he had to create a third one, and that was in the Treasury building. Okay, now maybe it was Treasury first, then War Department. I can't remember. But there were 3 buildings that held services, and this was every single week. In fact, the one that was in the House of Representatives serviced over 2,000 people per week. He was just a non-denominational kind of guy, like my pastor now, okay, in Born Again Church. There's no denomination, okay? But this is why to this day, when the prayer is told that, how fitting is right. When prayer is done inside the chamber, every single day it's a different denomination, because they didn't want to give weight to any one specific denomination. And so what happened was, after Jefferson left, who was it? Thomas Jefferson. Who was it? Was Madison. James Madison continued the practice of having those churches in those buildings. So you have a guy that they try to say, the libnuts try to say that he was for separation of church and state, and that it meant that you can't have a fucking Christmas tree in a government building. It's all nonsense. That's not what he wrote. In fact, it was not even ruled that way. It was part of an opinion that the judge wrote, and the libnuts jumped on it and lied and said that, well, that's what the opinions, or that's what the court meant. And it wasn't what it meant, that there's a separation. What he meant was, see, Thomas Jefferson, he understood what Charlie Kirk talked about, which was every colony at the time, okay, they had their own charter, which later became their own constitution. And inside that, like he said, it always said, you know, that you had, like, for example, Virginia was an Anglican state, okay, the Anglican faith, Protestant. And so it said anyone who wants to be, you know, part of the political government of Virginia must be an Anglican, okay? Now, Pennsylvania, my state, was the most liberal at the time, but even it had in its charter that the only way you can serve in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is if that you what do they call it, you recognized a supreme being, a supreme
Declaration
creator.
of faith, you mean?
Yeah, it was like you had to acknowledge, I can't remember the word, but you had to acknowledge that there is a supreme creator, okay? And so they want you to believe that he said that he was a deist and agnostic and all this. But what happened was when the Danbury Baptist Church wrote to him and said, hey, look, you're this whole thing on religion. You have a church inside the Capitol building. So you got to help us because our state is really trying to screw our church over. And he wrote back and basically said, look, I can't, because that's the federal government and you guys are state. Now, he then thought about this because he knew, Jefferson, like everybody else back then, knew that each state had their own adopted religion. In fact, tax dollars were used to build churches, and they were used also to purchase Bibles to give out to people in the church. You know, you lay a Bible down, somebody will use it during Mass, right? So, and why did they do that? Well, because that's what they did in England. They did it there. So why weren't they going to do it, right? They just wanted to leave the religious persecution over there. But so they did that. And so what happened is Jefferson sat back and said, you know what? We just created this whole new federal form of government. And he feared that the federal government would adopt its own religion and try to supersede that over all the states. So he wrote about the wall of separation. But the wall of separation, he clearly defined, try to tell a libnut that today, he clearly defined as the federal government itself versus, like, the church versus the church and their adopted religions. So that was the wall, that the states had their religion and the federal government did not, but you could still, how dare you realize reality, but you could still have religion in the federal system. You see? So in other words, the federal government could not touch any church inside a state, especially if it was an adopted religion of the state. And so that's what they did. That's what the whole thing was. But the libnuts like to lie, as usual. So now people say, separation of church and state. You can't have that. Screw you. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Simply put, the First Amendment just means that the government will not create the federal religion. The government will not create a religion.
Right. And you don't have freedom from religion. You have freedom of religion. Yeah. That's a big difference.
But basically, it means the federal government cannot create a religion for the country, nor can they tell you not to practice a religion.
Right. And see, the reason why Jefferson made the church non-denominational is because then the federal government is not creating a church. And they don't mean a building church. You know that, Lou. They don't mean a building church. They mean an actual church, an organized religion that you call the church. All right. So it wasn't doing that because he had a different type of religious leader every single week that would say Mass. Right. So that's what he did. In fact, George Washington, it was said that he rode on Sundays, he rode 2 hours to get to the Mass, and Mass back then was about 4 hours long, and then he rode 2 hours back home. Yeah.
4 hours. You've been to a Catholic Mass.
Exactly. That is true. What it meant, that's exactly true. All it meant, that's why when people say, you can't put that thing in, I'm like, really? How is that Congress making a law that abridges religion? It's not, right?
Yeah. And that's all it meant. Congress shall not make laws that
Abridging your right.
will
And
create a government, a state religion, nor shall they stop you from practicing
your religion. Right.
chosen religion.
And
That's all it
never
means.
said unless you are a Democrat in the 21st century.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's not
see
in
that.
there. I looked, and it's not in there.
I didn't see that in there.
Yeah, I held the Constitution up to the light, upside down, and I poured lemon juice on it. And guess what? That shit wasn't in there. I
you
just
didn't.
couldn't find
You
it.
didn't put heat to it, though. That's the problem.
No, well, the light bulb. I held it up to the light after pouring lemon juice on it, and it's not in there, guys.
Close enough.
That and
okay.
abortion. Abortion's not in there either because I did the same thing. Procedure
Well,
for that.
Listen, I have it on very good authority that it's in the emanations and penumbras.
Oh, there you go. It might be. You might be right.
So if you put the Constitution on the table and you stand back about 10, 12 feet, okay,
I know where
and
you're
you
going.
close your eyes till they're just a little bit of a slit, and you see this kind of little shining around it, that's where it is.
Yeah, that right
That's
there.
where it is.
That's where it is. Son of a bitch. Every time. All right, here we go.
There it is.
Trump admin reunites with Elon Musk in pursuit of AI dominance. That's what that whole handshake thing was. And I understand that wasn't a setup, that they saw them in there and the camera just shot to them. And that's what they were shaking hands about, because Elon wants to come back to help do some other stuff to the government. They're going to rearrange the government. I think what they're going to do is move certain buildings out of DC, because why the hell do they all have to be near each other? Right? They don't. Because what happens is they go walking down the street because they don't want to use a phone, and they'll tell like their buddies at another department what they're going to do and that they got to back. It's all bullshit. That's been going on for a long time. So a Trump administration agency that manages the government's real estate holdings, procurement, and technology services is partnering with Elon Musk's XAI in a move that it says will cost effectively streamline federal workflow. So the General Services Administration announced on Thursday morning that federal agencies will now have access to Grok 4 and Grok 4 Fast as part of an agreement with XAI valid until March 2027 that Musk says will make government drive innovation in government. Quote, XAI has the most powerful AI compute and most capable AI models in the world, Musk, co-founder and CEO of XAI, said in a statement. Thanks to President Trump and his administration, XAI's frontier AI is now unlocked for every federal agency, empowering the U.S. government to innovate faster and accomplish its mission more effectively than ever before, Musk added. We look forward to continuing to work with President Trump and his team to rapidly deploy AI throughout the government. And let me say this, that's all we need to know about that. But they very quietly, the press very quietly announced that Elon came out and said, I'm sorry about what I tweeted out about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files. It was wrong, and I was just angry, and I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
so that's the end of that.
He's hot-headed and a bit of a baby, but
yeah, he is. He is childish.
But he's brilliant, and I'll tell you, he realizes that whatever country dominates AI will dominate the world.
Maybe. Let me see if I got anything here. No. All right. Done there. What's next? Now I'm going to skip Bolton because he's boring as shit. Yeah. So they're all saying, Trump's just killing us with the economy, man. Yeah, all right.
Hey, bring up Take Two drum covers comment.
I'm doing, what's that?
Take Two drum covers, bring up his comment.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Can't come here legally, become an American, U.S., practice your religion, do your thing, but you don't become an American and think that you're bringing your laws with. Exactly. Yeah. And let me put it simpler. You can't bring so many people from there to here, because eventually if you bring more people from there to here, then here becomes there.
Well, somebody
you bring too many people from a shithole into your country's going to become a shithole. It's that simple.
Yeah, talk about Canada. Somebody needs to cut and paste that and send it to everybody in New York.
Well, did you guys hear Trump talk at the UN?
Yeah.
When he was saying to Europe, and he was being as sincere as he could. Hey, what's up, Curious Georgia? How you doing? When he was being as sincere as he can, I thought anyway, when he said, you know, you European countries, you are destroying yourself by unrestrained illegal immigration. And he said, I don't know why you're doing it. You have the right to have borders. You have the right to demand who will live there and who won't. He said, you're just giving it away. And he goes, and we have no idea why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And they are.
Finish one comment. That comment that Take Two put up, send that to every New Yorker, because Zoran Mondami actually wants to bring back Sharia law. Not bring back, excuse me, to bring in Sharia law.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we've seen this before, and the argument is always, well, if the people want it, no, that doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work, right? And then they say
voted. You know who voted for Mondami? You know who got him elected?
Who's that? The
It wasn't
here?
the Black communities. It wasn't the Hispanic communities. It was the liberal white women.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, no. Well, yes, but more so, it was young college students that voted. That's what it was, because the youth vote was the largest vote that put him in first place, and the reason I did a story on this and a video, the reason why was because our colleges were just especially in New York, were just indoctrination centers for communism. And so they all buy the fact that, we're going to have free groceries. Oh my God. You know, and stuff like that. They want everything for free, and they want you to deliver it for free as well. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I saw something that it was liberal white women, because they looked at the communities that voted for him.
Right. Well, there was liberal white women that were part of it, but the larger group was the youth vote.
All right.
They all went for him. Best thing they could do is put in Curtis Sliwa. That's the best thing New York can do for themselves right now, because otherwise, I think it's going to fail. I see more and more businesses leaving, and more people getting out too.
Well, one of two things is going to happen: the businesses are either going to leave, or they're going to look to pay off Mondami.
Yeah,
and that's what he's counting on. It's all about the bucks.
The U.S. economy grew even more than thought from April through June. He writes, he says, I'm a bit shocked, to be honest. On Thursday, the Commerce Department revised economic numbers for the second quarter of 2025, April through June, to show even stronger growth. Now they go, they fucking lied. No. They were very transparent. Just in, the U.S. economy grew 3.8% in the second quarter of 2025. So now here.
Now, on the GDP side, this is our third time around the block on Q2, and we see a really solid revision, 3.8%. I'm a bit shocked, to be honest. Usually the revisions, as you get to second and third, become smaller and smaller. So 3.8% would be the best quarter going back to, and we have to go back a ways here, till 4.4, and that was the third quarter of 23. Now, it is important to point out that if you look at the first quarter final, down 0.5%, there's a balance there, but the balance is moving in favor, and momentum is moving in favor for better growth.
There you go.
Now,
so I got a question for everybody.
Sure.
Anybody want to see something pretty?
Something I have a moment.
I think it's pretty. Anybody want a Dr. Jade moment?
Do you having a Dr. Jade moment? Yeah, let's do it.
Well,
hang on, let's do it. You ready for it?
I'm always ready.
Do you want to put something up? Do you have it? Is it a link?
Are you going to run the intro?
It's a Dr. Jade moment.
If you have a link, you can present it, and I'll put it up for you, and you can read it. You got invisible binoculars there.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Here we go. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Isn't that cool? I think it is so pretty.
It is cool.
My friends, is a dragonfly. You probably recognize it. It's called Meganeura, and neura comes from ancient Greek. It's ancient
That's
Greek.
real. That's not like AI art.
No, well, let me finish my story, and you'll get the
All right.
picture.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's called Meganeura. Meganeura. The neura comes from ancient Greek. It means veins or nerves. Mega is because this particular species is on the large side. Now, if I have to share a different screen now, let me.
Yeah, if you can just go there from here. Otherwise, I'd have to pull it up. Oh, you pulled it out. Okay.
This is just a size comparison.
Wow. Holy crap. Look at that.
That is a dragonfly. Now, this particular dragonfly, I mean, they're very cute. You would have trouble getting one for a pet, though. They lived something like from 330 million years ago to 60 million years ago.
Wow.
At the time, they were most prevalent in about 300 million years ago, when they were the apex predators. The Carboniferous period, that's the late Carboniferous period. The Carboniferous period is known as the age of insects, and gosh darn, this was an insect. It was an apex predator. It ate small reptiles and amphibians.
Wow.
And it had a wingspan of like 3.5 feet.
Wow.
Jaws like you wouldn't believe. Chomp, chomp. Let me see if I can.
Well, they say that's because the oxygen level was higher, and so everything grew stronger and bigger.
I'm getting there.
Oh, I thought you were done.
And no, I'm not done. In the Carboniferous period, the oxygen levels were like 35% as compared to today, when they are 21%.
Yeah.
So that's why, because insects like this typically they don't have lungs. Insects don't have lungs. They have what's called tracheal tubes, which basically are just openings like all along their body. And the oxygen kind of goes in with muscle movement and kind of just diffuses into the tissues. And that's great if your oxygen percentage is like 35%, but it's very, very inefficient.
Oh.
And once the oxygen levels started to decrease, they couldn't support this size. So now we have little teeny tiny dragonflies that are still very, very pretty. Let me put up
They scared the shit out of me for some reason.
Let me.
I think when I was a kid, one came back, hit me, and ran away. Never liked them since. I won't kill one.
Let me put that first slide back up, just so you
have
that as your
Make that a wallpaper. Yeah.
As we're ending, you can leave with this picture in your mind. This was an apex predator. This was a badass dragonfly. And I love them. I think they're great. We found fossils all over the place. You find them. They call them the Carboniferous period because they lived in what was called Carboniferous swamps.
They eat meat.
Because that's where all the carbon kind of settled out, and these things turned into, guess what? Coal fields. You find a lot of fossils from this era in coal fields, because all of the Carboniferous swamp became coal fields.
Yes, it does.
So I'm wondering what Budgie Burger means, but it doesn't matter. But
Did we lock up?
Yourself nightmare. Uncle Bob, I'm sorry I gave you nightmares. Now you have something else. Now you have something else to be having nightmares about, because these dragonflies were badass, man.
Yeah, they look badass. They look like little helicopters with legs.
You would not survive in the Carboniferous period.
I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't.
So
prefer
you know what
electronics and
we
computers.
need an outro music for me now,
Oh, well,
because I'm done.
we could still do.
It's a Dr. J moment.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Let's move on. Let's see. Disturbing details. Yeah, here we go. About the ice shooter. The ice. We're whether you guys know it or not. I mean, you didn't think about it, but we are living in an assassination period of the world. I mean, we have the left now in America thinking that it's okay to kill someone. Look at the polls that they have for it. It's okay to kill someone if you think they're a threat to your life or democracy, right? I mean, holy cow. So Kash Patel releases disturbing details about ICE shooter's ideology, counters press narrative. The press, they're all, well, he's a white guy. And he was shooting inside the facility, so he has to be MAGA. He had a gun and he's white.
No, he was shooting at the detainees.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what they were trying to say, because one got hit, right?
Yeah.
But he was actually shooting into the building, didn't know who he was going to hit.
I think it was an unmarked van. They were in the van.
Whatever. He was shooting into a building.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing, the facility. And just the stupidity of the left in the media. You would think they'd be like, you know what, we better start doing some real reporting, because we're all going to lose our jobs soon. When we have like when only our parents are watching. FBI director.
That'll never happen. That'll never occur to him.
I know. FBI Director Kash Patel put out a statement on Thursday detailing what they've learned about the shooter who opened fire on an ICE facility in Dallas. Perched on a nearby rooftop, Joshua John hit 3 detainees, killing 2 of them. Can you imagine this? Because of the long range, the lack of lighting, and the fact that he shot into the tinted windows of 2 government-owned vans, there you go, it appears that he believed he was shooting ICE agents. That assumption is backed by the fact that an unused round was found with anti-ICE scrawled on it, according to the obvious reality that he targeted an ICE facility. What is this shit with scraping stuff, with engraving your bullets now? When do they start doing that? But that's what they're doing.
That's copycat.
Yeah. Now we are learning more about the shooter, and despite the left's attempt to pretend his motive was some grand mystery, the evidence is painting a clear picture. So Kash says FBI Dallas and FBI HQ have been working 24/7 to seize devices, exploit data, and process writings obtained on location and in the subject's person, residence, bedroom. This FBI is committed to providing timely updates as promised. The perp downloaded document. Here we go. We got to go out here. Thank you, X. All right. The perp downloaded a document titled Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, containing a list of DHS facilities. He conducted multiple searches of ballistics and the Charlie Kirk shot video between 9/23 and 9/24. Between 8/19 and 8/24, he searched apps that tracked the presence of ICE agents. One of the handwritten notes recovered read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" Further accumulated evidence to this point indicates a high degree of pre-attack planning. The FBI will provide further updates when able. So I think this is why Trump wants to bring, well, he mentioned bringing the death penalty back to D.C., but that's for the district. But I really think all these states should bring it back. It's the only way you're going to stop these assholes from doing it. It's the only way. when they see a couple of their own fellow scumbags getting executed.
Well, did you see
14 years later.
One
What's that?
Antifa guy today got sentenced to 19 years.
Good. But
He's the first one.
but they
You know,
sentenced.
they're
What
for
they
all
so,
the-
so what did they do? They sentenced an idea, because we know Antifa doesn't exist, right?
Well, yeah.
It's just an
apparently-
idea.
Apparently.
It's just an idea with a goddamn flag.
Yeah. And uniforms and
Yeah.
bombs.
And they know
recruiting
exactly where to
standards.
go, and they know exactly who the target is. Yeah, there's no organization there.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, bigot?
They sentenced an idea that through homemade bombs and
Yep.
had other various methods to attack authority.
Yep. Mauser 98K. I shoot it was 8mm Mauser.
Do we know that? I have not seen anybody come out and say.
I saw the 8mm Mauser story.
I haven't seen anybody come out and say exactly what with Charlie Kirk. It was a 30-06. I didn't hear what. Oh, with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, the clip on the microphone was loaded with this. They're trying. That's to blame the Jews. It's not what it was. So this one guy came out with a clip where it shows the microphone here, and it shows it ruffles, and he's playing an instantaneous, a nanosecond. Hey, what's up, Special K? I know. What even are ideas, right? But let's go. So it shows that and it makes it look like that went off. No, he was hit. He was hitting the breastplate of his the vest that he was wearing, and it ricocheted and went through his throat.
No, he was not wearing armor.
Yes, he was. I can show you pictures of it. He was wearing. I had people in work that said no, he wasn't. I said, well, here, look at these pictures of him there that day, and he had the strap with the for the armor that was on.
His assistant said he wasn't wearing armor. His wife said he wasn't wearing armor. And there's pictures out there where you can see his nipples through his shirt.
I'll show you the pictures then. Hold on.
There's pictures. Yeah, put them up because I saw pictures of him. You can see his freaking nipples coming through the shirt.
I really don't want to think about Charlie Kirk's nipples, but thank you very much. Charlie Kirk wore armor.
It's said completely in a scientific, technical fashion.
Right. There you go. Okay. There's two pictures. All right. Let me see if I can bring the first one up without having to download it. And hang on.
But there is something weird because it was 30-06.
Here we go. So share this tab instead. So there's the strap, okay, of it. And here, that's where the mic was, right? But yeah, the strap was there. That is the strap. But you can see, there was another pair. I don't know if, you can see that ripple right there. That's before he got shot. But you can see that it's the plate is right there. So
why did I see pictures of him in that shirt and you could clearly see his nipples?
You can see nipples through. Maybe the plate wasn't covering his nipples, or maybe they weren't. I don't want to say nipples anymore. You made me say it again. I don't know, but that is him. He was wearing a vest. I mean, you see it right there, and that is the color of the vest. Plus the guy one of the guys that he was Charlie Kirk's mentor, and he said he was wearing a vest when they carried him. He said it, and because he had to start wearing a vest, and the reason why is because the security people told him to, because he kept complaining for like 3 weeks up to the event. He kept complaining, saying that he's hearing all this chatter about they're going to try something at the Utah event. And so he was wearing it. Now I have deflected off the top of the vest.
Well, I know that there's something more going on because everybody agrees that a 30-06 shot
That's a powerful gun
to the neck, and they found, apparently the pathologist found the bullet under the skin on the other side of the body, and that would be very unusual, even if it hit some heavy bone like the spine. So something weird is going on.
Yeah, but I don't think it was from the micro. And you know why? Because Israel did do the pagers. They had little explosive devices inside the Hamas page. I think it was Hamas inside their pagers, and they all blew up at the same time. that's a stupid reason to say that that the microphone shot. Think about it. The mic was so small. What kind of bullet could you have gotten in there that could have gone through his throat that way? I mean, it just doesn't exist. It's not there. Yeah, the magic bullet theory. No, Arlen Specter already did that one. Yeah. Oh, really? Where'd you go, Special K? Did you have a
he says his
staycation or did you go
his brain has been on vacation.
Oh, I thought he said his brain was on vacation because he went on vacation. Okay.
No, brain's on vacation usually means something different.
Yeah.
But
well,
something, and
my
I
brain
keep
goes on
hearing-
vacation when I go on vacation because I don't have to think.
I also
anymore.
keep hearing stories about the fact that his wife and daughter were there, and the
They
fact
didn't
is
see it.
she was in a hospital room with her mother.
Yeah, they didn't see it, but they were there. They were there, but they didn't like in the area, but they didn't see it.
No,
They had to-
she was in. They had to send his jet to go get her and bring her.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that's why they kept saying
She
that
was
he's in
in
critical
Arizona.
condition. That's why they kept saying he's in he was dead the minute he got shot. But that's why they kept saying he's in critical because they wanted to contact the wife
with the
first.
wife. But then I keep hearing, oh no, and he was shot in front of his wife and daughter. No, she was in Arizona with her mother because her mother was in the hospital. Yes, they recovered the bullet. It was under the skin.
Mm.
And that's weird for a 30-06 in a human.
Yeah, it is.
I
fired a rifle one time, 30-06, and it had a scope. And I started to put my eye up to it, and the guy
don't do
goes,
that.
"Pull your head back." I go, "Why?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "You'll see." And so you had to. I'm like, "Well, it's worthless, right?" I fired, and the kickback was like the recoil was like. He goes, "Could have taken your eye out or given you a real bad orbital shiner." I'm like,
Yeah.
"All right, whatever."
We call
Thank you.
we call that scope bite.
Yeah. I was
And
like, all right, I had no idea. I was young at the time too.
And now I'm trying to remember which shooting was it they had. There was a picture released. I think it was the ice shooter. There was a picture released of a clip, not a magazine, an actual clip.
Yeah.
With 4 or 5 rounds, and they were showing how he had written on it anti-ice.
Yeah.
Was that the ice shooter? Because that means
Yeah.
that it's a clip-fed rifle. The K98 is not a clip-fed rifle. I don't know that he used a K98, but I haven't heard any official about what rifle was used in either case.
Yeah.
The only thing I heard was 30-06 used at the Charlie Kirk shooting. I haven't heard about the it might be a Mosin, Babadi. But if he was using clips, there's only, the M1 Garand, but it was the M1 Garand uses clips. I can't rattle off the top of my head who else might, but there's very few rifles that use clips.
Right.
That's why initially I thought it must have been an M1 Garand, but they said it was a bolt action.
My son just bought one of them. My youngest.
So I'm waiting for somebody to.
How do you say, Lou? You got to explain yourself on that one. I don't get that. I'm drinking out of the ragu tomato sauce jar.
What are you drinking out of? Lift up your cup.
Oh, this? Oh! I see it. No, these I use these the mason jars as cups. Yes, that's. I had no idea what you were talking about, bro. Yeah,
I knew what he meant.
I didn't because I'm like ragu. The orange shit. Yeah. Let me see if I can find that from my son.
That's true. It uses 8-round clips. I don't know. I haven't heard what right. The other thing is the M1 Garand is a semi-auto, and they said it was bolt action. So I don't know what rifle they used.
Yeah. Oh shit.
And the only thing I've heard official is that it was 30-06 in the Charlie Cook shooting. Apparently somebody's heard it was an 8mm at the ice shooting. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, me either. All right, let's get back to it. Let's see. JD Vance. You just have to love the guy. Here, let's do. Let's present. So Vance slams Democrats and media for encouraging crazy people to commit violence. They're going to go, look, he's doing the Heil Hitler. Vice President J.D. Vance called out left-wing media and Democrats, specifically naming Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat California, scumbag, for encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence in a speech in North Carolina. Yeah, some of the things that he said, holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. And you know what? I think he may have destroyed his chances for 28 with the shit that he's been saying. Let me see if there's a video here. No, there isn't. Maybe the link is. Hold on. Gavin Newsom. Is the video? Yeah, we might have a video on that. Because you got to see it. Yeah, I don't think the Federalist will play it. I think they'll put a link to it. Hang on. He's announced. Nah, they're not. All right. So, yeah, wait. Crazy people.
Yeah, maybe that one right there.
Well, no, that's Vance. Yeah, it's encouraging people. Let me see. Well, I can share this. Hang on. Let's play it.
Happening right now. We just saw this. You're watching this live as it happens.
I'm not watching the whole thing.
Vice
obviously.
President J.D. Vance just got to the stage here in Concord, or there in Concord, I should say. He's here in the Charlotte area. First official visit. Let's bring him up full. Here, J.D. Vance. Here he is. J.D. Vance is here on stage, set to speak his first official visit here in North Carolina since taking office. Let's take a listen in.
To be back in the great state of North Carolina. Thank you all so much for having me. I want to thank, first of all, these incredible law enforcement officers we have behind us. Thank you all for your service and for what you do. It's a good-looking crew. It's a little hot in here. If those of you who are watching at home don't know, it's a little hot in here, and they've got their navy blue uniforms on over here. I bet they're even hotter than we are, standing up there under the spotlight, but they've done much tougher jobs, I think, before. So we're thrilled to have you guys here. And I just wanted to say to all the law enforcement who are in this building, to all the law enforcement who are watching at home, we love you, we're grateful to you, and we're always going to stand behind you. Thank you, guys. Now, I have a few other thank yous before we get to the meat of what I wanted to say here. First of all, we're in this incredible hangar, and it belongs to Dennis and Kay Yates. Where are Dennis and Kay at? Where are you guys? Thank you all so much. Thank you guys for having us. And, of course, we're also thrilled to be joined by the hangar's previous owner, Jack Rouse. So, Jack, thank you so much for building this thing and for having us. It's good to be here. Now, I'm joined by one of my favorite former Senate colleagues, and that is the great Senator Ted Budd from North Carolina. Ted, thank you so much.
Let me see if I can get past that.
North Carolina, he couldn't say no. And I think for too long in this country, we actually took the exact wrong approach. We told people that if you were walking down a city street and there was a crazy person over there yelling and screaming at your kids, you ought to walk to the other side of the street rather than possibly be accosted by a violent person. Well, you know what I think? I think that if a person is being violent and threatening to young children and young families, they ought to send their asses to prison instead of telling people that they got to cross the other side of the street. Now, and Ted is going to be mad at me. Ted is a good Christian man. He does not cuss. So, Ted, forgive me if I get a little fired up sometimes when I'm talking about this. Look, I've gotten in arguments with people before. You know, a couple years ago, I took my family to New York City. This was when I was in the United States Senate. We spent a few days there. It was a wonderful trip in a lot of ways. But, you know, every time we went to the subway, I'd have one of my kids grabbing onto my leg or afraid because there was a crazy person yelling, hollering, and screaming at a 3-year-old little kid.
Yeah.
Why do we live like this? Why do we accept this in our communities? And the answer is because of bad political leadership. We have accepted for too long this idea that we ought to give over our streets to criminals and to vagrants and to people who are screaming at us instead of taking back our streets with our incredible law enforcement. And there are so many things that we can do. You know, in Washington, D.C., the first 2 months that we surged the National Guard, that President Trump surged the National Guard into Washington, D.C., there were no murders. Not a single murder for 2 weeks in the streets
They
of
said it
Washington,
couldn't be
D.C.
done.
And you know, we have all these world leaders who come. And we'll tell them, you know, we haven't had a murder in Washington, D.C. in 2 weeks. And these world leaders will look at us and say, is that supposed to impress us? Like, that doesn't sound very good. But, you know, to Washington, D.C., which averaged last year a violent murder every other day, 2 weeks without a murder was a hell of a track record.
Yeah.
And then we just surged the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee. Again, a Democrat city in a red state, but where the mayor said, we are sick of our people being afraid to walk safely on the streets, so why don't you help us? And that's our basic attitude in the Trump administration is, look, we should not allow people to take over. We should not allow these violent criminals to take over city streets. And if the local government wants our help, if the local authorities want our help, then we are going to help them because we stand for American safety everywhere, whether it's a big city or a small one. Thank you, young man. So this is what it means. Being pro-law and order is actually not that difficult.
Or multiplication and
some issues we
subtraction
address
in addition.
that are so complicated and so challenging, but supporting our local law enforcement is actually pretty easy. It's just a question of political willpower. Here's thing number one, very simple. If our great police officers find a violent criminal and lock them up, we ought to keep them locked up instead of letting them back on our streets with a slap on the wrist.
Yep.
That means we want to give our police officers the very best equipment and the very best protection anywhere in the world. We want you guys to have the very best, and we're going to fight every single day to make sure that they have it. It means punishing state and local jurisdictions that restrict your ability to do police work. They just want to do their jobs. They ought to be allowed to do it. And it means pursuing enhanced sentences for violent criminals, like the violent criminal who murdered that poor innocent girl in Charlotte, North Carolina just a couple of months ago. And I want to talk about her for a second because I think, we got a beautiful baby over there. How you doing, ma'am? Yeah, I would like to. How old is she? 6 months old. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing her. We want law and order for her above all else, right? That's why we're doing what we do. But we all know a couple weeks ago, and it's one of these things that got bumped out of the news because of the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so let me talk just a bit about that. You all know Charlie. He was a great guy. He was a great husband, a great father. He believed in two things, I think, above all else. Number one, the second most important, is he believed in political debate in the United States of America, that we ought to talk about our disagreements and not attack one another over our disagreements. And he gave his life dying for that principle. And the second thing he believed, and it was the most important, is that he wanted to be a Christian evangelist. He wanted to bring the gospel everywhere, and he saw connecting with people and debating politics as an opportunity to talk about his faith. And I think it's important to honor him by recognizing that this is a kid, and he died at 31 years old. This is a kid who every single day he would go to these college campuses. He would talk for 3 hours with anybody about whatever they wanted to talk about. And he believed in the civic virtue of open debate. He gave his life to protect that civic virtue, and he gave his life serving that civic virtue at the highest level. He was a great guy, and his loss was the nation's loss. And Erica, we love you. Erica's his beautiful widow. And I think you all will join me in saying that what happened to Charlie was disgusting, it was unacceptable, and it is the most anti-American act of violence that we've seen in the last couple of weeks in this country. It was a disgrace. But thank you all. I appreciate that. And the thing is, it actually bumped out of the news this terrible story in Charlotte. And here's the basic summary, as far as I can recall it, is you have a violent criminal who has been arrested 14 times, often for very violent offenses, who gets on a bus with an innocent young girl, 22 years old, and slits her throat and she dies. She died because she was coming home from work. She worked at a pizzeria. She came from a beautiful family. She had a young boyfriend. She had her entire life ahead of her. And she was actually a refugee from Ukraine. So she came from a war-torn country. She sought shelter in the United States of America. And because of soft-on-crime policies, she was murdered here, not in the war-torn country she came from. Isn't that a disgrace? And isn't that...
All right. I thought he was going to get more into yelling at Democrats. It's 43 minutes. I don't think we're going to do that. I have another one I just got.
Hang on a second. Take two. You are correct from a few minutes ago. Take two said something about it depends on the round used.
Yeah.
And yes, they said 30-06, but they didn't say what kind of 30-06. There's a wide variety of loadings, and I've heard some suggestions that it might even have been a subsonic round that they used.
Really?
That would explain the lack of ballistic efficiency when it hit Charlie. So again, we just don't know.
I'm going to play this. This is about Newsom.
I want to go on Gavin a little bit. Can you show the clip of him saying what he wants them to start doing to Republicans, which I think is a call. It's a call to action. And if he wants to play that game,
which clip is it?
He says punch him in the.
Oh yeah.
Can we show and guys
right.
and again, I want everybody out there. Remember when they hit us low, we go high. All that BS that you heard from all these fake ass Democrats. Okay, they're the party of violence. Don't forget that. Okay. These are the people, and this is a call to action because those two people, Rob's going to find who they are. This is the type of attitude that they're telling Democrats to have. Rob, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Oh, weird. They both have the glasses.
Get out of here.
These are the two people that are in charge of his social media. These are the guys and the girl. They always have dark glasses. I'm on to something. Rob, play the clip with him.
The bow tie also.
Yeah, play the clip.
I don't care about their looks. Their work is what is terrible.
Yeah, well, the glasses that tell.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead.
This is radical rigging of a midterm election. Radical rigging of an election. Destroying, vandalizing this democracy.
It's not a democracy.
The rule of law. So I'm sorry. I know some people.
Actually, everything that they're doing is within the rule of law.
Sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
Okay.
Wow. And you lost.
Okay, you can't say that wearing that shirt in that studio.
Yeah,
I mean, you just don't look.
Wait, Rob, play
that does not look like a guy that's going to come down there and pop somebody.
I want to go on Gavin a little bit. Can you show the clip of him saying?
Yeah, that was that. So Gavin is like, he's batting zero, for goodness sake. He hasn't won anything yet. He's desperately trying to run for president, and he just keeps smacking himself in the head because he's not winning anything. If she stayed in Ukraine. Oh, that was rough, though.
Yeah, but you know what? He's right. She might be alive if she would have stayed in Ukraine.
But I mean, what are the odds that a nut like that was going to do something like that to her? Very high odds.
Increasing.
Yeah, but very high odds. High odds that something like that would happen.
You know what? No, I don't think so. I don't think so because right here in Colorado, we have two high-profile cases. Colorado, two high-profile cases: Solomon Galligan and Ephraim Debisa.
Guilty.
And they've both been released on bond. Ephraim was charged, not released on bond, just released. Ephraim was charged with attempted murder in April. They released him. They're looking for him now because he was on a school campus with an AR-15, but he's been in and out of the system. He's got a long list of arrests, but they keep letting him go because he's incompetent to stand trial. And the law in Colorado is, oh, well, you're not well enough, so we can't prosecute you. So their answer to that, well, we can't prosecute them. We let them go. Solomon Gallagher.
Yeah.
Again, he had a rap sheet as long as your arm, and was found running after and trying to grab a 9-year-old boy. Now, if you see any pictures, he's not much to look at, and the 9-year-old boy got away from him. So that tells you how, how much of a that. But these people are a threat. They're put into the system, and they're let go because, well, we can't prosecute you. You're not well enough.
Yep.
Oh, well. And that's it. That's the end of the story. Okay, wait a minute. There's a problem with the story here.
Yeah.
There needs to be a little more on the end of this story, but there isn't.
Yeah. No.
Can you tell it gets my fire burning?
Yep. Sure can. Because it's wrong. Everything's wrong in this country, and that's what they're trying to fix.
It's just wrong.
And it's funny that the Democrats are on the 20 of the 80-20 scale, which means that they are against anything the Trump administration is trying to do to make life better for Americans. I mean, the things that they're against is just unbelievable, because they have to appeal to the radicals that they brought in to their party. It's just,
yeah, but they must have had a problem with the murder on the train in South Carolina, because they're so pro-Ukraine, but they're so pro these whatever you want to call them, whatever you want to call this murderer, this unwell individual. But of course, the unwell individual checked more victim boxes, and the young lady in question was white. So that's where it ended up. That's where it ended up.
Yep.
They're still, and besides that, it's all Trump's fault, because his rhetoric is what riled these people up to cause them to.
Isn't that
riot.
crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Can you believe they say that?
Yeah, they do, because they're assholes. Let me see.
Okay, I've talked too much. I got fired up. Sorry,
you're
guys.
Good. You're good.
Sorry, guys.
Let me see if I can get rid of that. Yeah, I'm going to find the next one. Is Fix Humans, Trump Joint Task Force, Comprehensive Strategy, Political Violence. Here's one. This was pretty riveting. Let's go. Michael Finch is riveting. A Time to Stand. President of the Freedom Center delivers a masterpiece. So let me see if we have the video. Oh, I'm gonna have to read all that. All right, whatever. Well, let's see. So it was at the David Horowitz building. It's if David Horowitz, who has long been recognized as one of America's leading authorities on far left ideology, he grew up, his family was communist. He grew up here, but they were communists. And on one of its most eloquent champions of Western liberty is the public face of the Freedom Center that bears his name. Michael Finch, the center's president, is the modest figure behind the curtain, the man who keeps things running day by day. But Michael is far more than that. He, too, is a writer, like many others, including yours truly, as well as my superb colleagues, Mark Tapson, Daniel Greenfield, and Robert Spencer, who have contributed introductions to the various sections of this book. Michael is a regular author on Front Page Magazine, which is pretty good. Front Page Magazine, as well as for other publications. Of course, each of us brings to his writings, let me see, his own specific knowledge and set. Front page columns, front page is uniquely his own, and we'll try to understand whatever. So here, how to describe that unique something. Certain words come to mind. For whatever reason, they all seem to start with a P: patriot, philosopher, prophet, and poet. Let's start with this. Michael routinely and reverently reaches back into American history, contrasting today's corrupt and mediocre political class and the preposterous cultural elites who support them with our brilliant founders and the greatest of our presidents, military heroes, artists, and authors. In an era of grubby race hustlers, insane transgender ideologues, appalling apologists for Islamic jihad, and miscellaneous merchants of madness, Michael patiently reminds us time after time that our beloved country is the product of the strenuous efforts of millions of men and women who, over many generations and with a quiet nobility and extraordinary sense of self-sacrifice, settled the land, worked the land, and when called to do so, took up arms for the land. That was the model for years. Now, not so much. In some moods, to be sure, Michael is capable of expressing the view that the America that some of us are old enough to remember and were brought up to revere, the America of hard work and high principle, is slipping through our fingers or is lost already. As he puts it, to Americans over a certain age, this America, this culture, this society have become beyond foreign. It is not the country we grew up in, and it is not the country we want to die in. It is alien. More often, however, Michael is a man of hope and faith who is quick to assure us and himself that in spite of everything that the bad guys, the soulless self-seekers have done to despoil it, our America is still out there, that America that we remember, the one that was proud and strong, but also assured humble, the one that embodied a quiet patriotism that didn't need boasting. Let's see what he says. As conservatives, we love to think of America being founded and for 240 years run by nothing but pious Christian pilgrims. But this is just fantasy. Yeah. We have had very pious men in our history, but also very many rogues, drunks, gamblers, womanizers, etc., all Democrats. But the very same traits required to take risks, to lead men, to create and build, often coalesce with some of the traits that we find so morally repugnant. George Patton, Ulysses S. Grant, Sam Houston, Andrew Jackson, and so many others were hardly saints. Sam Houston's bio reads like a rap sheet of drunkenness, criminal assault, cuckolding, and misery. And then he went on to found the Republic of Texas. George Patton, who wouldn't last 5 minutes in today's army of political correctness, he almost didn't last past Sicily and the slapping of a soldier, not to mention his many insults. But how many American lives and the lives of the German camps did he save by steamrolling into Germany months ahead of schedule? Yeah, they didn't like him for that. We are not electing a pope. We need a leader. Conservatives fall into the trap of thinking that with a pious, perfect Christian who is a moral saint, we are guaranteed the traits necessary to lead our country. Nope, in a time of crisis. I am sorry. They are not one and the same. Sometimes to get a deadbeat drunken failure like Ulysses S. Grant to take you to victory at Vicksburg. So save the piety, conservatives. The man who leads us in battle or who leads our country through crisis is not the man you confess to on Sundays or the man who marries your daughter. For all this readiness to stand up when necessary for the rough and ready Jacksonian tradition, however, Michael is more often inclined to celebrate the fact that for all America's global power and its readiness to use that power in the defense of liberty, its greatness is at bottom an unboastful, unpretentious, peaceable, and civilized greatness. The greatness of millions of decent farmers and factory workers, of devoted school teachers and homemakers, of patient and persistent dreamers whose inventions and discoveries and creations have transformed the world. Yes, Michael acknowledges Americans have it in them to be arrogant. But as he puts it, we have a right to be. After all, how could we not be arrogant with what we have achieved in the course of human history? Indeed, America's unparalleled record of achievement is never far from the center of Michael's thoughts. He is one 21st century American who is still able to refer without a hint of irony to this blessed land of America. Despite all that has been done by leftist ideologues to bring America down and render it unrecognizable, Michael still finds profound inspiration and meaning in John Winthrop's conception in his 1630 sermon, A Model of Christian Charity, of the planned Puritan community in New England as a city on a hill, the product of a sacred covenant in accordance with which the future settlers and their descendants would be obligated to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with our God, to be willing to abridge ourselves and our superfluities for the supply of others' necessities, and to delight in each other, make others' conditions our own, rejoice together, mourn together, labor and suffer. So in other words, what he's saying is America sucks today, but we can still get back to it if we try hard enough, and we have the leaders that will get us there. And I think Donald Trump is one of those such leaders because he's got a mouth on him, and yet when you listen to him speak, when he talks about America, he has a reverence for America, loves the country, and wants to bring back a lot of the traditions that the left took away from us.
Have you seen some of these videos? I'm assuming fired up is good as when I said sorry for going on, I was fired up. Have you seen some of these videos of the lefties saying they're leaving the Democrat Party?
Yeah, a lot of them.
And
I did a video on it.
And I watched your videos, so I saw it, I'm sure. But yeah, but basically what they're saying is, yeah, what a surprise. I came over here and everybody's welcoming me, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there was a couple. I had them. I subbed to them anyway. They're Democrats, but I subbed to them because they had very interesting videos. They're from Arizona. The husband, he sounds like he's further beyond Mexico, like he's further south, his accent. He's an American, right? He came here and he got naturalized. And so they did a video saying, it was a little drama, saying, we're going to go to the Charlie Kirk Memorial. We hope we get in because we want to experience. We're kind of nervous to be around so many MAGA people, but we're going to go anyway. And by the end of it, like they were in there, like, oh my God, we made it in. And the girl, like, she shined her camera to all 91,000 people. She goes, this is absolutely amazing. And then in the end, she was like, you know, everybody we met was nice to us. They were helpful to us. They were Christians. They were pleasant. She said they were the nicest people on earth, and are all wearing MAGA hats. She goes, so we just learned an awful lot, you know, about the lies that have been told about these people. So yeah, that's another thing that's going on, which is why a lot of Democrats are leaving, because when they saw how they responded to the Charlie Kirk assassination, they were like, you know, because they were right on the edge. They were on the fence already with all the shit that we went through under the Biden regime, right? So and with what we have in Congress on the left. So they saw that was the final straw. They couldn't do it anymore.
And they're all out there saying, wow, I feel kind of liberated. I don't feel like a victim anymore.
Yep. Yeah. So here we go.
And of course, you've already talked about New Jersey.
Yeah.
You did that video.
Yeah. Check this out. DNC refuses to return decades of donations from Jeffrey Epstein.
Of course they do.
The DNC is under renewed fire. Wait, hold on. I'm eating cough drops like they're candy. The DNC is under renewed fire after revelations that it never returned donations from Jeffrey Epstein. Evidence has emerged showing that the DNC failed to return the money even as late as the financiers' sex trafficking cases continue to rock Washington. Epstein had funneled donations to the DNC for decades before he died. However, the DNC refused to send back the cash even after Epstein was jailed for child sex crimes. They're like, well, it's my money now. Campaign finance records show the DNC accepted $32,000 from Epstein in the mid-1990s. Unlike other Democrats and political groups who later moved to donate or return their Epstein-linked money, the committee kept the funds. Can you imagine this? The DNC won't get rid of the funds. The renewed scrutiny comes as the DNC has leaned heavily into Epstein-related attacks against President Donald Trump. Exactly. Everything that they want to argue for says, and yet he won't release those files. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. The DNC has launched a social media account seeking to connect Trump to Epstein and has even been driving a mobile billboard past the White House. DNC chairman Ken Martin accused Trump of covering for Epstein, whom the Democrat leader called a notorious sexual predator. The fact of the matter was, Trump during that time was an informant for the FBI, and he helped greatly to get Epstein arrested.
Well, Epstein himself said that Trump got him arrested.
Yes. Yes. And yet these assholes are still out there trying to say, oh, he's trying to cover for him. Come on. The revelation has led to increased pressure for the party to reconsider keeping Epstein's donations. In a statement, however, a DNC spokesperson dismissed the concerns and there's nothing to see here. Dismissed the concerns and attempted to shift the narrative back to Trump, saying instead of trying to blow the cobwebs off of decades-old contributions and because they're decades old. Imagine if the Trump organization didn't return funds coming from it would be a totally different. That's how freaking corrupt these people are. So they're demonic. Instead of trying to blow cobwebs off of decades-old contributions and defunct campaign accounts, Donald Trump should release the Epstein files. That's what I'm telling you. They're all doing. It's, instead of going to war to save the American people, Donald Trump should release the Epstein file. It's like everything. Instead of trying to shut down abortion, Donald Trump should release the Epstein files. Republicans quickly pointed to the hypocrisy. Scrutiny over donations tied to controversial figures is standard practice in politics. The RNC, for example, faced calls to return $1.4 million linked to its former finance chair, Steve Wynn, after he stepped down in 2018 amid multiple sexual misconduct allegations. The DNC also accepted more than $90,000 from billionaire hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, a longtime associate of Epstein who faced accusations from Virginia Roberts Goofy, whatever her fucking name was. She accused Prince Andrew of raping her on 3 separate occasions while she was a teenager and became one of Epstein's most prominent victims. She was found dead earlier this year. Yeah, she always said, I am not suicidal. I love life, so I didn't kill myself. And then here they say she killed herself. Okay. Dubin was never charged, but Epstein invested millions in his hedge fund. Epstein's money reached across party lines, including President George H.W. Bush. Of course it did. However, the overwhelming majority of his political giving favored Democrats such as Senate Minority Leader Chuck U. Schumer and Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee. Schumer received thousands in Epstein's. So they're not returning it. They're saying, screw you, try to make something out of it. But if we find out any one of you did, we'll make it look like we never did. Hey, thanks, Louis. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
And if they're so concerned about the Epstein files, why in the past 4 years, when they had exclusive access to them, did they not release them? Does anybody within earshot think that if there was anything in there that they could connect to Trump, that they wouldn't have put it forward?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And if they do
damn right well, they would have.
If they do release it, well, the Democrats had control of it for 4 years. It's compromised.
Yeah. You see, things are finally just moving. All right, let's play another one. I got another clip. Here we go.
You know, one thing that I'm growing to realize is that
that's good, by the way, Doc Rich.
Raised conservative, and it's a beautiful thing when they grow older and they realize that their ideas actually line up more with conservatives. So I want you guys to go and holler at this brother right here and give him a warm welcome. Let him know he's actually conservative.
Yeah, watch this.
As someone whose parents weren't into politics and someone who's never voted in their life, I just started really trying to understand the different type of parties and stuff. And everything that I've been combating people on hasn't had anything to do with my political view. It's just had to come down to morals and beliefs that were instilled in me since I was younger. And it's starting to look like I'm a conservative. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing because I don't really know what a conservative is, but it just seems like these things align with my views and values as I was taught growing up, not because I'm just like, this is what I believe. I was taught these things growing up. So for me, it just feels like common sense. So the common sense thing is that I would be a conservative, but I don't want to just jump the gun just yet. So if there's anybody that kind of has a little bit of information on that, please feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I say welcome home.
Yeah, I like Doc Rich too. Yeah, you know what's going to probably happen to that video? He's going to get a whole bunch of pink-haired weirdos calling him names for saying anything about being conservative, and he's going to get a bunch of conservatives saying, "Yeah, brother.
Yeah, come on over." Yeah.
You know, you like something.
Reagan once said that Black Americans are conservative. They just don't know it yet. Because they are. What's the difference? I mean, Black America had a uniquely different experience from white America growing up, let's face it, but no less justified as Americans, right? But, they're family people, they're workers, they love God, and they love justice. The 2% in those communities that make things horrific for those communities, that's not the overwhelming amount of people. So Reagan said, look, they're conservatives. They live like conservatives. They just don't know it yet. And that's because you had your Jesse Jacksons, your Al Not So Sharpton. You had all those race hustlers out there. That's why.
Yeah, I was watching a video and this guy was going on, and I step back. I'm kind of, on the edge a little bit with new people. And this is just a video, and I'm watching this guy. And then at one point he says something to the effect of, he was an Asian gentleman. And he says something about, I'm just a good old fashioned gun-toting, red-blooded, gun-toting American boy. And it was funny. This is a video, and I could feel myself relaxing with him when he said that. Cool. I just smiled, and it's like, yeah, brother.
Let me bring this one up. This is good. You gotta love Trump, right? So it says Trump cancels meeting with Schumer and Jeffries as shutdown deadline nears. Now here's what Donald Trump is doing. He knows that the Democrats, they have the same pattern. They ignore everything they said about spending and whatnot prior to it, and then they go, all right, we want to talk. And then they throw some things in there that are poison pills. The Republicans walk away and they go, the Republicans are going to cause a government shutdown. And Trump just said, go fuck yourself. In the immortal words of Elon Musk, go fuck yourself. We're not going to do this anymore. And they're furious because he's not allowing them to set him up. And it's great. President Donald Trump canceled a meeting planned with top congressional Democrats this week as the deadline to keep the government funded quickly approaches. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries were set to meet with Trump on Thursday. But I don't even know why Trump gave them an audience, but because Biden never met with anyone on the other side. But Trump said he saw no point in talking with them, given what he called their unserious and ridiculous demands. Gotta love it. Lawmakers are out, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! He's not acting like Republicans always act." So lawmakers are out of Washington for Rosh Hashanah. The Senate is scheduled to return September 29, while the House is not expected back until after September 30 funding deadline passes. All right. Trump announced the cancellation in a lengthy Truth Social post, blasting Schumer and Jeffries for promoting radical left policies that nobody voted for. And if you read the shit, that it's all progressive garbage that they want in their spending bills. Quote, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. And he's right. So basically, he's taking the fact that they're in like the teens as far as ratings, and that they will not give up on the 80-20, taking the 20 side with issues. And he's just smashing them into the ground with this. The decision came days after Schumer and Jeffries sent Trump a letter blaming him and Republicans for risking a shutdown. Right. They attacked the GOP-backed short-term extension as a dirty bill loaded with partisan policy riders. They warned it would undermine Affordable Care Act subsidies. Good. Threaten hospitals and extend the Republican assault on healthcare. There you go. The Republican assault on healthcare. With the September 30th deadline fast approaching, Republicans will bear responsibility for another painful government. And they wonder why Trump said, get off the lawn, right? They wonder. Trump countered that the Democrats' measure would repeal Medicaid reforms in what he has described as a big, beautiful bill, right? They want to take away what he wrote in the big, beautiful bill that reformed Medicare or Medicaid. He also argued that it would eliminate the law's $50 billion rural hospital fund. Quote, we must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter, he added. Otherwise, it will be just another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. You gotta love it.
He does have a way with words.
Huh?
He does have a way with words.
I love it. He called their bluff. He's not allowing them, because that's what they always do. No matter, like think about it. For the Democrats, if the president was a Democrat, it was the Republicans in Congress's fault. If the president was a Republican, it was the Democrats in Congress's fault or the Republican president's fault. It's never their fault, but yet in reality, it's always their fault. They put poison pills in intentionally because they want to be able. And that's like, do you remember, what was it, last year or the year before? I think it was last year when that New York, what was his name? I can't remember his name now. He was the black guy who was principal at a high school. He actually built a school. He created a school, and he taught there as the principal. Or he taught there too for 10 years, right? At Jabol, what the hell was his name? And they were about to, the Republicans in the House were about to pass a bill that would have met the deadline for a government shutdown, and it would have had to go over to the Senate. And they didn't want that. Schumer wanted it to fail in the House so that they can say they can't even get something here, right? And so he pulls a fire alarm. Remember this guy? He pulls a damn
Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman.
That's it. Jamal Bowman. Blowman. Ha! Thank you, Chris. Love those contributions, by the way. And so he pulls a fire alarm so that he could interrupt. Now, didn't they charge like 450 people on January 6th for that, for doing something like that? Right? When they walked into the doors that were opened by police for them to come in and adhere to the velvet ropes, the rules of the velvet ropes.
Bowman, at least he lost his seat.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Right. Yeah, here's Roger Stone drops a bombshell. Let's do that one. Yeah, so Roger Stone drops bombshell about Eric Seibert, the U.S. attorney Trump fired, and James Comey. Here, let's watch.
So the U.S. attorney who was fired by Donald Trump in the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Seibert, prepared a 51-page memo arguing that former FBI Director James Comey should not be indicted for lying to Congress under oath.
Right.
What he didn't include in his memo is the fact that Seibert has a stunning conflict of interest. You see, his father-in-law, the father of his wife, is the godfather to James Comey's daughter. You can't make this stuff up.
Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's so incestuous.
It is. It really is. It really is. It's crazy, man. What the shit that goes on in DC, and the incestuousness of it. Like I talked before about this, the Uranium One thing, the deal where Hillary was taking bribes. They got $145 million delivered to the Clinton Foundation and laundering service. And it was because Putin wanted to buy Uranium One, which was a Canadian company that owned 20% of U.S. uranium, and he wanted to corner the market. And Hillary actually helped him do it, right? And here, the FBI had an informant who was in with the Russian bankers and saying that there's bribes and kickbacks, and he said who it was. It was Hillary. Right, that was taking the money, and she convinced every member of the CFIUS board, the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. That's a board that Barack Obama created, and she convinced all of them to vote for it to allow Russia to own 20% of U.S. uranium. Are you kidding me? And because Putin wanted it. And long story short, it turns out that the FBI director put a gag order on the informant and said, we'll put you in jail if you ever tell anybody about what's going on, because he was covering for Hillary. And he had to know, FBI director had to know that there was an actual investigation going on into the Uranium One sale, right? Because they use an informant. So he puts the gag order on the informant. That was Bob Mueller. He was the FBI director. I thought he was a Republican. Yeah, so was James Comey, right? So that was Bob Mueller who did that. And get this, the incestuousness. The U.S. attorney working out of Maryland that had oversight over that FBI case was none other than Rod Rosenstein, who became, because of Jeff Sessions stepping down, became the acting deputy or the acting attorney general, and the one who appointed Bob Mueller to be the special prosecutor against Donald Trump. Now, can you believe this shit? You can't make this up. You really can't. Let me see. I got some stuff. Nah, that one's too long. So what else we got? All right, let's play this one. I just got this one sent to me.
So I was telling a client that this year, my son.
So I really did not want to make a video like this, but something feels off. You've probably felt it too. Like the economy doesn't add up. We just recently revised the job numbers again, and we learned that we actually had 900,000 less jobs than we were originally told between March 2024 and 2025. Stock market kind of feels disconnected from reality. I'm noticing people are angrier and more divided than ever. I've seen some really bad takes on social media about what's really happening. And every day the news feels like there's another sign that the world is coming to an end. Believe it or not, there's a name for this. Some people call it the fourth turning, and that this cycle happens every 20 years or so. Famous economist Ray Dalio says that it's the decline of the US empire, and we're in the last phase of it. But whatever we call it, we all feel it, I think.
We're in winter is what we're in. And The Fourth Turning was a book that was written by two academics, and they go all the way back to the War of the Roses. And every generation goes through the same thing: winter, spring, summer, fall. And winter, obviously, the culture, the society of the country is having a hard time. Then things get better as you hit spring and summer. But it's very fascinating. I can't get into all the details because I don't remember a lot of them, but I remember they were fascinating because one season of how people grew up, like, for example, World War II, okay? So things were bad. All the men were over in Europe, right? And then the women were home here doing the war, all that bullshit, right? And then the war's over. And what happens? We have baby boomers after that. They were the children of those people. And the baby boomers, they didn't want their children, because they had to grow up with like not a lot, you know, because America was, you know, we were going through a war. You had to, you know, turn your pots and pans over, medicine, you know, everything, right?
They came out of the Depression, don't forget.
Yeah, and they invented M&Ms. Yeah, after FDR exacerbated it for 15 years by extension. And so what happens? So the baby boomers said, you know, the idea throughout society was, okay, collectively was, we're going to make sure that our kids have everything that we never had. So they spoiled the shit out of their kids, right? And then we had hover parents, and everything leads one to the other, and that's what he's talking about. But the point is that throughout every generation, the economy collapses when it hits winter if you didn't do the right things in the other seasons. And our economy should have collapsed in winter in the 1980s, I believe it was. And what happens is we just kept, because we were the world's top reserve currency, we just kept printing money to pay for it. All right. So you have a road, right? That's the economy. And you have a road, and then it dips down, right? So what do? You just you just print more money and fill that hole up, but you're not building anything because you're printing all the money that you're borrowing, right, in just to fill the hole. And that's what happened. And according to the book, the study, the longer that a society holds off that fourth cycle, the worse that the crash becomes. And usually that's only by like 2 years, right? We've been holding off since the 80s. So the crash that is right around the corner is going to be fucked up, and it's going to destroy many countries around the world.
So I really did not want to make a video like this, but something feels off. You've probably felt it too. Like the economy doesn't add up. We just recently revised the job numbers again, and we learned that we actually had 900,000 less jobs than we were originally told between March 2024 and 2025. Stock market kind of feels
That was
disconnected from reality. I'm noticing people are angrier and more divided than ever. I've seen some really bad takes on social media about what's really happening. And every day, the news feels like there's another sign that the world is coming to an end. Believe it or not, there's a name for this. Some people call it the fourth turning, and that this cycle happens every 20 years or so. Famous economist
Every
Ray Dalio
generation.
says that it's the decline of the US empire, and we're in the last phase of it. But whatever we call it, we all feel it, I think. So I really did not want to make a video like this.
All right. I thought there was more to it. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Well, in 2008, Lou, yeah, it was because of, like, they try to say, you know, Barack Obama, hey, what's up, Pam? Good to see you, girlfriend. So what happens is, what I believe happened was, it was the 30 plus year Democrat scam in the housing market that caused that crash. That wasn't part of the fourth turning, I don't think. Yeah, they did the subprime thing and all that. That's what they did. So they tried to blame Bush because he was the president at the time, even though Bush, prior to the crash, a couple years prior, went to the Congress, which was run by Democrats, both sides, and said, I want you to create another oversight entity that will look over and monitor Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And the Democrats kept telling them to go screw a rock because there's no problem with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, all the way up until the housing market collapsed, and then Lehman Brothers and all the others went with it. And then they blamed Bush, even though he was the one that tried to do things to stop. And believe it or not, that piece of crap, John McCain, did a special 1 hour session on saying the dangers of what the Democrats are doing in the housing market and how they're scamming everybody. And then when Bill Clinton came along, the whole thing started back in the 70s with a woman named Gail Sincata, and she ran, I think it was called the National American People's Way or some shit like that. Out of Chicago. It was a rabble rouser group, you know, those community organizer shit. And so they made it, they got the Community Reinvestment Act passed in Congress because the Democrats went for it. And what it did is it gave community organizers the right to interfere with banking, okay, in the mortgage area. And they did. They interfered. They took kickbacks. It was all kinds of bullshit. But when Bill Clinton got into D.C., he nationalized it. He made it federal policy to scam the housing market. So in other words, because the Democrats wanted it known, oh, well, we Democrats care more about black people buying a home than those evil Republicans. They're a bunch of racists. That's literally what it was, the scheme, right? But what they were doing is they were saying to somebody, like a black couple would come in and they would say, okay, we want to buy a house. And they're like, okay, so let's do your mortgage write-up. And they failed, right? They failed the mortgage. So they're like, all right, don't worry about it. We'll put you through subprime. Now, why did they use subprime? Because Andrew Cuomo, right? Andrew Cuomo told them to, because he was the HUD secretary under Clinton. So when the presidents of banks went to him and said, you're going to kill the economy if you keep forcing us to give mortgages to people that can't pay them back. So he said, put them under subprime rather than fix the problem, right? Because it was too good. It was too juicy a political issue to say that, yeah, we want black people to own a home. Those racist Republicans don't. They're trying to stop you. So what they would do is they would come in, they'd fail the test, right? Because they didn't have credit or didn't have a job, whatever, right? I'm not saying all black people. I'm saying in certain areas. They used to call it redlining, where they wouldn't like take loans from those people, give them out. So what happened was they would say, okay, we're going to put you in subprime. So can you afford $1,000 a month? Well, yeah, we can afford that. All right, cool. And in 4 years, you're going to get a balloon, and it's going to go up to about $5,000. They go, but by that time, this artificial housing bubble we created, your $300,000 house is going to be worth $425,000. And so you're going to sell it, right, at that market, the market value. You're going to pay that off and put it down on another. And they did this for years. They took all these toxic mortgages and they tried to wrap them up and make them look like derivatives and whatnot. They tried to make them look like they were good paper, but they never were. Right. So that's what caused the 2008 crash. It was 30 some years of manipulation of the housing market that just destroyed the economy. And to this day, they still try to blame Republicans for that when they had nothing to do with it. They tried to stop it. Okay, I think I bloviated enough on that. So what else is there? Yeah, the DOJ is now actually actively investigating the Soros Foundation. That's great. Trump directs AG. Yeah, here we go. Trump directs the AG. This is Epic Times, Epoch, whatever. So Trump directs AG to fully implement death penalty in Washington, D.C. We can't allow murder to happen. People come in from Iowa to look at the Lincoln Memorial, and they end up getting killed. He's right. Now, they're going to say, oh, he's just showing his authoritarian. No, screw you. People are dying because you people were pussies for years. That you didn't want to put people in prison for committing crimes. President Donald Trump signed a memorandum on September 25th directing his attorney general to fully implement the death penalty in Washington, D.C. Signed in the Oval Office on Thursday, the document refers to capital punishment as an essential part of the U.S. legal system in deterring and punishing the most reprehensible crimes that often involve grotesque and lethal violence against innocent Americans. It directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to work with Jeanine Pirro, love Judge Jeanine, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, to fully enforce capital punishment in Washington and to pursue the death penalty in all appropriate cases where following a full examination of the evidence and other relevant. So in other words, they're bringing back the death penalty, which I think they should have never taken it away, because it really does. I mean, the death penalty does act as a deterrent, except when you got these freaking politicians that allow appeals up to 14 years. Like, how is
no.
on
Keep
death
going.
row?
20, 21 years.
Yeah, but how is someone even 14? How is that deterring, a guy from not killing someone? Well, I'll get 3 squares. Now I hear death row is not a very nice place to be because of the isolation, but
Hey, I guess
yeah, and
some people would think, and I'm not going to say if I think this way or not, but because this is a family show, YouTube overlords. This is YouTube overlords. This is in no way any support or encouragement for anything unlawful or anyone to harm anyone. So please listen.
Yeah.
No violence here. I think some people can believe that justice is often best served out at the time of the crime. And you see some of that. And in some states, it's worse. If you're in Texas and you break into a liquor store, if you try and hold up a liquor store, good luck.
Yeah.
Because if the clerk's not armed, all of the people in there are armed. I think we need more of that.
Yeah. I told you guys before, I used to date a girl in Philly, and her family owned a jewelry shop on what's called Jewelers Row. And Jewelers Row is an entire segment of Philly that it's nothing but jewelry shops. All right. And a lot of them are where other jewelry shops get their wares. And her father's shop was the only one that was never robbed. The rest of them all robbed all the time, smash and grab, shit like that. So what they explained was they always had the door, like you have the door that you come in and then it locks behind you. You can't get out. And you got to go down this hallway and it's all glass. You can see them walking up, right? And then there's another door that they have to buzz you into. And so if they don't like you, they go, you're going to have to leave. We're going to unlock the door there, And it doesn't matter. We don't want you in here. So what they said, like I was sitting around dinner one time and they're like laughing, or like, because the whole family has to work there. Family owned business, all family works there. But the father insists that everyone who works there, that they always have to have 2 family members out at the counter, in the counter area, and they all carry a pistol on their hip, open carry. And so they say it's so funny when you see them, they come in, we let them in, and they come in, they look around and they look at each other, and we know they're casing the joint. And then one notices that we're carrying, and he looks to the other one and he nods his head ever so slightly to take a look. And then they turn around and walk out and go rob another store. It works. The deterrent works. That's why I say carry. If you're open carry, open carry. You just can't do that in certain places where they don't want you to, because they always defer to the business. But still,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
works.
if somebody breaks into your house, if somebody breaks into your car and tries to carjack you while you're in there, you know, it seems to be that many people, and I'm not giving necessarily my opinion here, but I think many people would think that it would be very fair that you are allowed to defend yourself with as much force as you need.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but see, under Obama and especially under Biden, you had these Soros DAs that were going after the victims.
Yep.
You know, I was like, what? You're
Well,
going
we've
after the
talked
victims.
we've talked about this story before out of England, where the 14-year-old girl was protecting her 12-year-old sister, and she had a knife and a hatchet, and a couple of Bulgarian immigrants were harassing them, and I guess they were trying to, I don't know if they were trying to take the sister or whatnot, but she kind of fended them off. Well, the
Yeah.
police show up. Guess who they arrest?
Yeah.
They arrested her. They
Yep.
finally, like after the whole country had a collective what the fuck, they finally arrested the Bulgarian guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, Budgie, I agree. Justice is a dish best served hot.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he just posted that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
I do too.
By the way, anyone's personal opinions are not necessarily the opinions of the network.
Right. Yeah. Fact checkers.
Everybody listen, and we are absolutely in no way
We got this
encouraging
cool thing.
any
that
kind
we-
of violence or any kind of retribution or any illegal act whatsoever.
There you go. Jimmy, if you're still here, they're adding all these new things. I'm going to stick with StreamYard. I was going to leave because they're so outrageously expensive, but they're adding so many new things. Here's one. You can put a QR code up. That's my website if you use that. But you can create your own QR codes here, which I think is just pretty cool that they allow you to do that. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here too that I got to try out. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, we love the narrative.
And let's just say in this house, if somebody did break in, they might think better of their life decisions.
I have a gun in
that
every
put
room
them-
in my house. Do you know
You
that?
have what? You have
I have a
what?
gun in every room in my house.
That anyone breaks in here, they might think the better of some of the life decisions that put them to where they were at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I have a nice sign on my front window too. And it's enough to deter people. Plus I got an 85-pound German Shepherd that'll rip your throat out. What do you say? Dr. Jade has giant dragonflies waiting for any intruder.
And they got friggin' jaws on them, man. They can take a reptile and chomp.
For those of you who weren't here earlier, Dr. Jade's moment was she was talking about they discovered these dragonflies that were from the prehistoric age, and they were huge. They were what'd you call them? Apex predators?
Yep.
Yeah, they were apex predators.
Let's
Yeah,
post
show it
the
again.
picture.
Yeah, just show
See
the
if I
picture
can
because we already
see
got
if
the
I can
history.
find that picture again. I don't have it up. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
there it
gone,
is.
so we don't have
there
it.
it is.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Oh, come on.
The increased oxygen concentration. Yeah, that's right. Well, they're
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah, let's
that
just
Noah's
show.
Ark really happened, and that it was the tectonic plates had shifted, and that geysers of water shot up because prior to that there were no lakes and rivers. They were all underground. But then when that happened, the water's now above ground, and they said that the vegetation went away as much as they had. They had vegetation, which does what? It creates oxygen. So that was the theory anyway.
There's my pretty picture from earlier, and I'm not going to go
that's
through
real
the thing.
too, right? That's real. It's not AI.
Well, given they died out 60 million years ago, I suspect that it is.
But I mean, it's a portrait, is what. It's not AI generated, right? Somebody painted that.
I don't know who, in fact, put pen to paper,
All
but
right. 'Cause
it
today
is supposedly an accurate representation. And these things are apex predators with wicked jaws. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through the thing again. Everybody got freaked out enough the first time. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh, it's funny. I was just going to play another Dr. Jade moment, but I won't. It's like,
You
shut
think
up.
I'm
You're
funny?
showing
You
off.
calling me funny? Like a clown? Do you remember
What
that
the
from
fuck is
Casino?
so funny about me?
Yeah, from Casino. You know the scene.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have another video of the Hildebeest? Nah, we don't. I was going to do
How about the
Hillary.
Kentucky Democratic senator?
Yep. He switches to the GOP. Party left me. Yeah, there's a lot of them doing that, or they're considering to do it.
Oh, did you hear about Fetterman?
Yeah. Well, what part did you hear?
I mean, he's tearing strips out of the Democrats, and basically
he is.
everybody's going, dude, you're like 1/4 of a red pill away from leaving the Democrats and switching parties.
Now he still votes for a lot of bad stuff, right?
Yes, yes.
But his rhetoric is right.
But
I'd
so
go for the
did
voting,
so did Tulsi Gabbard.
She voted for progressive everything.
Yeah, she
Because
voted
had to
that
walk-
way
she had to walk
until they pushed her
Pelosi.
far enough.
Right.
She stayed with the party platform.
Right.
And so I would expect the same thing. He's going to vote party platform until he finally has the last grains of the red pill.
But see, what they're going to do, the threat, Schumer will do the threat and say, we're not going to give you any money unless you change your stripes. He's going to say F off, and he'll get elected anyway. He'll get reelected anyway, unless we have a good Republican running, because I'll vote for a Republican before I'll ever vote for him. But yeah, because the way I look at it now, Jade, is I no longer look at like, oh, he's a great guy, vote for him. No, fuck that. I'm looking at results now. I don't care. You know, the old, hey, he wears a cowboy hat. He's great, man. No, I don't care if he wears a cowboy hat. That was an old Bongino thing, by the way. You know, I want to look at how he performs. How does he vote? You know, I don't care if he's a great guy. I'm not voting for a great guy. I'm voting for him to vote the way I want to in Congress. And that's what we should all do from now on.
Yeah, but if he follows the pattern, you know, he's going to criticize them, and like you say, Chucky is going to come to him and say, "Listen, you got to toe the line."
Yep.
And he's going to tell Chucky, "Well, listen, I'm tired of you," and he's gonna next thing you know, he's gonna run as a Republican.
He might, and I don't think he would get.
I don't know that, but certainly some of the things that he's saying. Anyway, want to talk about the Kentucky senator?
Yeah. Hang on, I got to get back in. I was researching something else to play. Here we go. Got to find it again. There we are. So, yeah, Democratic senator switches to GOP. They left me. It is tough to be a Democrat governor in a state considered to be red, and it just got tougher for Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. The governor, they can keep him. The governor has been popular enough in his state that he is considered one of the top picks of the Democratic Party's presidential nomination for 2028, having defeated his Republican opponent, incumbent Republican Governor Matt Bevin in 2019 with a total of 890,000 votes, whatever, which is 49.2% of the vote. In 2023, he defeated GOP challenger Attorney General Daniel Cameron by about 60. Yeah, but was he cheating? Because he was a Democrat. However, President Donald Trump won the state in 2016 presidential election with 1.2 million votes, accounting for 62.52% of the total. And his support has grown, garnering 1.3 million Kentucky votes in the 2020 presidential election, which he had stolen from him from President Joe Biden, and 1.3 million votes in the 2024 presidential election, accounting for 64.47% of the state's votes. That may be one of the reasons State Senator Robin Webb has switched her party from Democrat to Republican, Fox News reported. First and foremost, quote, "I'm a mother, a rancher, and a lawyer with deep personal and professional roots in Kentucky's coal country," former Democrat said. As the Democratic Party continues to lurch to the left and its hyper-focus on policies that hurt the workforce and economic development in my region, I no longer feel it represents my values. It has become untenable and counterproductive to the best interests of my constituents for me to remain a Democrat. While it's cliche, it's true. I didn't leave the party left me. Yeah, exactly. Like countless other Kentuckians, Webb has recognized that the policies and objectives of today's Democratic Party are simply not what they once were and do not align with the vast majority of Kentuckians. I always respected that Webb approached issues in a very thoughtful and common sense manner. A Democrat? Come on. And that she never failed to keenly focus on what was best for her constituents. It is my pleasure to welcome Robin Webb to the Republican Party. Yeah. It's happening a lot now. They just don't want to report on it a lot. But it's happening a lot. Here's one. It's on Antifa. So Antifa just showed everyone why Trump labeled them a domestic terror group. We saw some of the liberal media's talking points regarding Antifa. Some genuinely don't know what it is, which shows how dense the bubble they live in is. It's an unhinged group of progressives. Is this? No, it's Matt Vespa. He's good. It's an unhinged group of progressives that has been around for years. They've attacked conservatives, police officers, and are organized. They're getting marching orders, folks. It's not some loose confederation of keyboard warriors. These people are nuts. President Trump signed an executive order designating them a domestic terror group, which led to some mockery, of course, but they're not calling for their supporters to attack ICE facilities. This call to arms came before Joshua John, 29, opened fire on one in Dallas, Texas this week. Maya Cathal, formerly of Town Hall, has more via Washington Examiner. We'll just read the first part. Antifa agitators are calling for further attacks on immigration and customs enforcement facilities as ICE agents already face an unprecedented wave of left-wing violence. And yet there's more violence on the right, they're telling us, right? That's the rest of it. No, it's open season on now. It's open season on Antifa. All powers of the state must be mobilized to crush and defeat domestic terrorists. That's true. Once they give that designation, I think the Secretary of State does it, right? So once that designation is made, shit tons of money comes out. New offices are opened. I mean, you have no idea the money that goes into going after a terrorist organization. So that's good.
And one interesting thing about that is when you name them a terrorist organization, you can seize all assets pre-trial.
Yep. Yeah, you can.
And that's why George Soros just put out that notice saying, we got nothing to do with funding these dudes.
Well, they do actually, because what they do is they
of course they do, but they put out a letter that says, no, we don't.
Right, and they're gonna laugh at them. Yeah, because they have things like the Joyce. That's what the Open Society Foundation was. But the Joyce Foundation, the Tides Foundation, the Ford Foundation, those are organizations. And there's plenty more like it. Those are organizations that a liberal can, like a liberal billionaire, can donate a boatload of money to, and it's anonymous for them. So you don't know. But if you go to discoverthenetworks.com, you'll find out who all these people donate to and what organizations do that. So I recommend going there after the stream, of course. But yeah, so now it's open season on Antifa. All powers of the state must be mobilized to crush and defeat these domestic terrorists. Enough. No mercy. If they want to go out Waco style in a cookout, so be it. Love this guy. They're not the problem, but they're a large part of the violent left that has gone off the rails since 2016. This is great. Antifa is not an organization. We just have a flag, uniforms, official colors, local chapters, meeting places, email signups, and clear directives from members. That's great. Gotta love that. Let me see. I want to do Kurt Schlichter, CHL. Let's see if he's still up. Okay. Is it still there? Oh, it is. I can read the whole thing. Okay. Let me bring it up. Mr. Kurt Schlichter. We totally voted for Trump to tick off tiresome foreigners. Quick, everybody care what a bunch of impotent, fussy foreigners think about us? No, really. We should give a damn that some herring-gobbling fjord jockey is mad about Donald Trump. Yeah, Norwegians totally matter, but not really. No foreigner matters. Not Canadians. Sorry, guys. Not the English. Not the Arabs, especially the non-existent Palestinian variety. Not the Papua New Guineas, even those ones that live in those little mud huts, right? Here's the reality. Most foreigners are trash. Oh, my God. There's half my audience. Most foreigners are trash, not you guys. Most people who aren't Americans suck. There we go. And treacherous Americans who presume to leverage the puny outrage of second-rate cultures against ours deserved our contempt and mockery almost as much as the foreigners themselves. All right. He's writing in jest, guys. It's Kurt Schlichter. They think we're dumb. New world rubes with too much in the way of guns, calories, and Jesus. In contrast, we barely think of them at all. Donald Trump went to the United Nations the other day and did something that American presidents aren't supposed to do, which is refuse to pretend that the delegates aren't a motley bunch of pompous cronies of mostly pathetic potentates. The last time any of us thought the UN was anything but a corrupt clusterfuck, I like how he did that, of jumped up chiselers trying to hustle greenbacks from Uncle Sucker, was back in second grade when we collected pennies for UNICEF, you know, before our public school teachers replaced that particular brand of performative onanism with drag queen story hour. What really gets to them is Trump's total contempt for the UN and everything and everyone it represents. He's not just unimpressed by their pretensions to dignity. He actively despises them. That's well, you know that they discovered that they really did shut the escalator off intentionally on him, and they really did shut the teleprompter off. The United Nations, they did this to the president of the United States in the country where they have their building. Unbelievable. So,
did they find the technician who did it?
They're looking. Someone did rat them out and say, yeah, they did it. They did it because it was Trump. What really gets to them is Trump's total contempt for the UN and everything and everyone it represents. He's not just unimpressed by their pretentious. He despises them. That's why he wouldn't let it go about the escalator that they couldn't make work, assuming it was not done on purpose. In which case, our new ambassador Mike Waltz would duke the entire site from orbit. Yeah, he would. Trump famously made his escalator work. These dummies collect billions of dollars a year, and they can't even operate the same kind of moving stairway you can find functioning in a zillion shopping malls. Yeah, well, we found out since this was written, they did it intentionally to fuck with them. And you know what? You know why that's bad? Because when the president of the United States is going up an escalator with his wife, Secret Service is not supposed to be in the shot. I mean, Bongino pointed that out. He goes, you're in trouble if you're in the shot. He goes, because they don't want a president seen. You got to be close by, but not in the shot. So you walk back, and so he didn't have Secret Service around him. So he's stuck on an elevator. Well, anybody could have shot him. It's crazy, but it demands respect, and it generates enough hot air to make the climate change hoax real. Weak American leaders treat it like it matters, but Trump laughs at it. No wonder the Turtle Bay losers are big mad. Now, I admit I'm biased against foreigners. I lived among them in their garbage homelands for a significant part of my life. Back when I was a young lieutenant, I was stationed in Stuttgart. Okay. Doing my very small part to keep the red hordes of the Warsaw Pact on their side of the Fulda Gap. All right. The fact that many of you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about is a testimony to how well we did our job.
Yes.
But why did we have that job in the first place? Because the freaking Europeans not only have a multi-thousand-year history of butchering each other, but because they managed to both create and embrace two of the most loathsome and despicable ideologies in all human history, the twin socialist pathologies of Nazism and communism. If it weren't for those poisonous creeds, Americans would not have had to head over to Europe to knock heads together and then sit there for going on a century. We're still there under the auspices of the welfare program known as NATO, keeping them from killing each other. Wow. Now, let me tell you about the Germans. Oh, boy. There's a reason my ancestors picked up and got the hell out of there 250 years ago. Germany and Germans suck. It's a terrible country full of terrible people with a terrible culture that does terrible things unless somebody has his boot on their collective terrible neck. They're unique in their combination of unjustified arrogance, moral illiteracy, and irritating anal retentiveness, alternating between feckless weakness. They've starved their military into near nothingness in order to subsidize the zillions of third world sociopaths they've invited into their fatherland. Das ist nicht sehr gut für men. And homicidal psychopathy, whatever, psychopathy that has lain dormant under their unsmiling, pale visage for the last 80 years. The Germans' big problem with the Nazis, if you've ever pounded too many steins of lager with them at a Volksfest, which I have, they'll tell you, is that the Nazis lost. And I also spent a year deployed refreeing the incomprehensible internal feuds among the various sex, tribes, and ethnicities of the Balkans, in my case, in Kosovo. Nothing like having to pick up the pieces of communism before the locals could chop up their neighbors into pieces with shovels and axes. There's a reason I have been telling Americans for over 10 years in both columns and novels that you don't want to start creating new rules, because that leads to very, very bad things. And I saw that up close in Kosovo. Don't even get me started about Ukraine, where I spent time training their soldiers and puking my guts out. I've never been so sick in my life. It was like working in an open sewer, except with more bribery. That's crazy, man. There's this smell that lingers in the air behind the old Iron Curtain, a potent mix of disinfectant, decay, and dread that you can't get out of your nostrils, even after you've gotten the hell out of there. Oh, and I got to spend some time in the Middle East too. Here's a little bit of advice besides don't go. Don't shake anybody's left hand because they wipe their ass for it. and that hose in the toilet. It's for exactly what you think. Now, leftist Americans are the most parochial people in the world because the only thing they know about America is New York and Los Angeles. Yeah, they're a coastal party. And the only thing they know about the rest of the world is London, Paris, Berlin, and maybe a little bit of Italy. Yet they will share the full range of their inexperience and ignorance with those of us who have spent quality time there with the locals. They insist we have much to learn from foreigners. No, we don't. The only thing foreigners have to teach us is what not to do. We're constantly hearing about how other countries have these wonderful free healthcare systems, but nobody tells you that you can't get an MRI for 12 months or that the one treatment that you can get right away is a lethal injection. Every time you visit one of these countries, half the public employees are on strike. In many cases, the friendliest people you will meet are the gypsies who try to steal your wallet. Hilariously, Europeans have been appalled because Americans who catch them beat the crap out of them. And this is when we are at a disadvantage because we're limping because we've banged our legs up in tiny cells that they call home. They call hotel rooms. Air conditioning is a luxury, and there's nary a man-sized car to be seen. guns. I think that's because the roads are a lot thinner, right? So they don't have a lot of roads there, like the bigger roads. That's why. Well, at least that's the excuse they gave for not buying American cars. So air conditioning is a luxury, and there's not a man-sized car to be seen. Guns, none. Unlike in America, where citizens are armed. In lesser countries, which is all of them, guns are for the masters, and the people themselves are serfs. Foreigners are an example, all right, a cautionary one. But that doesn't stop them from offering their stupid opinions. They're all over Twitter venting about the U.S. and a U.S. of A. like old men shouting at clouds. They're very mad at Donald Trump. They're baffled by how we proudly celebrate our faith and our patriotism. The only thing they believe is in climate change and maximizing the pension they get starting at 43 years old. They throw words like fascist around, and to be fair, they're experts since foreigners invented the concept. Yeah, Giovanni Gentile. They're nothing. They're not militarily significant. They're not economically significant, and a significant number of them are not sexually significant, to judge by the plummeting birth rates of the Europeans who have given up their civilization to the third world masses and appear intent on running out the clock watching soccer and the Eurovision Song Contest. It's funny how they attempt to speak to us as peers. It's actually quite adorable. I enjoy appearing on foreign news networks as a commentator, where I'm inevitably paired with their American correspondent, who is, of course, based in Washington, D.C., as opposed to in America. Exactly. And it blows their minds when I say things like, we totally voted for what Trump is doing. Diversity is a system designed to allow losers who can't hack to get access to what achievers earn. We don't arrest Americans for mean tweets because we're civilized, and this one always gets a gasp. America has a terrible assault weapons problem, and that not every law-abiding, healthy adult American citizen has an assault weapon. I am rarely asked back, even if I'm not tossed off the air. Well, that's a good thing, I guess. Now, we must be fair. Not all foreigners are garbage, just most of them. I married someone who was a foreigner until she became an American, and therefore better than foreigners. And some foreigners are fine. Do I have any people left in the stream, Jay? I had a very good time in Paris last year. I love Portugal this year. Now, both of those countries idiotically decided to recognize the non-country of Palestine lately because they are terrified of the even worse foreigners who they let into their midst. But you know, they've got good wine, and you have to give them credit for that. That's something. It's not much, but it's something. I love that guy.
Yeah, and my my people, Ireland, they recognized Palestine, and that distressed me. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where is that story? I want to save that story.
Crazy stuff.
Where is that story? I want to save it. Rich.
Which story?
The one you
I just read?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Antifa. It begins with Antifa. Just search that way. Antifa just showed everyone. Or no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Just look for Schlichter. SCHLIC. Just look for that. Or Kurt. KURT. You'll find it that way. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the bottom. So we totally voted for Trump. Just search for that. You'll find it. That's pretty good. Anything he writes, I love. I have another one of him in there, but I didn't put his name on it, so I don't know what the hell it is. But yeah, but let's see. We can do.
Yeah, I know a couple of people. I want to. They want to read that story.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, Jasmine Crockett pissed off the Utah governor because she exposed an insane Charlie Kirk clip. What the hell is that? Hang on, that's 21 minutes. Yeah, we don't have that. I'll watch that later. Sorry. Let's see.
Oh, but you know, Poland is actually called the Texas of Europe.
Really?
Because they actually have guns.
Yeah, I could see that. Because Poland, you know what it is? Poland, because of the Soviets, they're like, never again. We're not going to allow that.
Yeah, they actually have guns.
You know, yeah, they're like, we're not going to allow that. No, never again. Them and Hungary, and and they all. Who was it? The Hungarian? What's his name? Begins with an O.
Orban.
Orban. Yeah,
Orban.
yeah. They call him the European Trump, right? He's a little bit of a lefty, but with illegal immigration, he's pretty strong on that.
Yeah, he's against the illegal immigration, but most of the rest of him is pretty bad.
Yeah. But he is against it. I saw him one time where he had this thing where he they showed like, I think it was like 60 Minutes or something was doing a show on them, and he showed that they caught these two illegals, and so they brought them into the building. They took their pictures, they took fingerprints, they signed things up, and then they took them through another door, and that door was the outside on the other side of the country, on the other side of the border. And they're like, now go and don't come back. They thought they were going to be brought in. They're like, go and don't come back. I thought it was great. Yeah, we got.
Do we want to talk about Kamala? We got 5 minutes left. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Might as well end with some laughs.
Yeah, this is funny too. She's saying that a Fox person. Hang on, let me get it up. There it is. Yeah, Kamala claims Fox Insider leaked election night data to her campaign. Yeah, okay. Kamala Harris is in one of her most revealing interviews since her failed 2024 presidential run, made a stunning claim. She said she had a friend inside the Fox News war room feeding her campaign team critical data on election night. She lost anyway. Mediaite reported. The admission came as Harris reflected on the painful hours that sealed her defeat against President Donald Trump. Speaking on The View, Harris described a chaotic evening filled with whispers of bad news from Pennsylvania, emotional turmoil at home, and a husband praying in the shower that the outcome would not be catastrophic. Well, you didn't get your prayers answered. According to Harris, her campaign's sense of optimism quickly collided with inside information. Quote, but on his way back from a rally where there is an incredible amount of enthusiasm, people on the ground were like, we got it. We're going to do this, Harris said. And then they talked with a mutual friend of ours who was over at Fox News in the war room, who had been hearing about data suggesting things that we were not looking great in Pennsylvania. Yeah, because Pennsylvania, man, we whooped them this time. In other words, Harris claimed her team was in direct communication with someone embedded at Fox News. Now, how much you want to bet? It's Paul Ryan, who was leaking real-time information as results came in. She framed the story as a personal recollection, but the remark raises serious questions about media ethics, campaign coordination. Yeah, I thought only CNN did that, right? Gave questions to the Democrat, and whether the flow of data out of Fox's decision desk violated network standards. Fox News has
Rich,
yeah.
What is that? What is that? I don't recognize that term. Media ethics?
Yeah, I know. I think they made that shit up. So, quote, that night I grieved in a way that I have not since my mother died. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, Lord.
I know. Her remarks underline how crushing the loss was for her family. Look, she wrote a book like Hillary, but at least she didn't go on a 28-month book tour, and saying the same goddamn thing every single time. You could do the best campaign. You could do all the work you had best in your life, and you could have it stolen from you by a bunch of Russians. She did that for like 2 years. At least this one's going away quiet, I hope. She recalled her husband, Dougie, shielding her from the bad news at first, retreating upstairs to pray that the projections from Pennsylvania were wrong. Nah, they weren't. It wasn't just Harris who felt the blow. She said supporters still approach her in tears, I don't believe that, unable to process how quickly the campaign's momentum evaporated. She didn't have a campaign, 107 days. 107 days, and she wrote a book about it. I was saying it reminds me of SNL when they did that phony commercial on the Grenada invasion. When a little kid walks up to the glass at the recruitment office and goes, Dad, what's Grenada? And the father just looks up in the sky, and they're like going through the whole motion like they're selling an encyclopedia on Grenada, and they're like 24 volumes, one for each grueling hour of the incident. That's what her campaign was like. 107 hours. What? or is it 170? I think it was 107. Still, she said supporters still approached her in tears nearly later, unable to process how quickly her campaign's momentum evaporated once the results rolled in. Harris also revisited one of her lowest moments of the campaign, her October 24 appearance on The View. Yeah, because they asked her a simple question she didn't know how to answer. I'm not going to change anything, because she stupidly thought that people believed that Biden's policies were loved,
Yeah, that's the day she lost the election.
What would you do different? Oh, yeah. When asked what would you have done differently, she said, there's not a thing that comes to mind. That's when everybody was like, oh, my God, I'm going to fill out my resume. Critics seized on the line, saying it confirmed what many voters already suspected, that Harris was running as a continuation of Biden's campaign. Look, when it was finally pointed out, I did a video on this. It was finally pointed out she didn't even have a freaking website to have her what do you call it? The platform to have, what policies she believed in. So next thing you know, she has a website. But guess what? They discovered they just copied Joe Biden's website and changed the names. Because all the stupid asses, they don't realize that you can do right click and you can do view page source. All the metadata still had Biden's name in it. They were that freaking lazy. Quote, I am a loyal person and I'm a loyal person and I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I'm talking, that kind of shit. Well, we don't need anymore. She's done.
Yeah, and did well. The reason she lost,
the auto pen.
The reason she lost is because she didn't have time / misogyny / racism, / whatever.
Oh yeah. So
did you see in her book though that she runs Pete Buttigieg?
She did
out
what?
of town. She throws Pete Buttigieg under the bus.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What did she do?
Well, now, okay, everybody, just for the record, I did not read the book. I'm not going to read the book. I did not buy a copy of the book.
But you probably heard it on.
I heard it from one of those guys that says, I bought the book, so you don't have to. So what she did, somebody asked her about Pete Buttigieg, and she basically said that he was gay and having a black woman with
a gay, it wouldn't work. Yeah.
She said that was, given the situation, she said that was too dangerous.
I heard some people complain.
And then
when were you black?
She goes and picks this effeminate clown from.
Yeah, exactly, from Minnesota. Yeah, but here's the pick I wanted. You were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
it shows 45, auto pen 47.
Yeah.
Tell me Trump doesn't have a sense of humor. I mean, think about, and that's on the White House wall. It's in the White House on the wall. The president's room.
Do you remember when the second picture came out? And then you take a look at the two pictures together, the one from 2017 and the one from now.
Right.
And you take a look and you go, oh, Uncle Trump, he's here. He's going to be, we're going to. And then you take the look at the one from now and it's like, Trump's back, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's kind
of mean business.
That's kind of close to his mugshot. It's not the mugshot pick, but it's kind of close where he's like just leaning in with that.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would have been funnier if he just would have said, use the mugshot for my presidential
I know.
shot.
I was thinking that too. He should have used the mugshot on the second one. But that's that. Hey, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you haven't already, please. Appreciate it much.
Come back next week.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. We love you to death. You guys come here every single week, and we love you for it.
Have a great weekend. Make sure to come back.
I'm not giving up. I'm still going to say, please bring friends. Are you guys telling me you have no friends? Come on.
Tell friends.
Bring friends. Yeah.
Tell at least one friend.
Yeah, we could double this, man. Easy. Come on. Bring one friend.
Either that or the next time you go for a $10 latte at Starbucks.
Thank you, Bass. I know you did. I know. See you guys. Yeah.
Write it down at write it down on a napkin and hand it to the barista.
There you go. Say RPW Media live stream. Good times. If only we had beer, right?
Or when you go to your counseling session, tell all your peers.
No real live friends. I know a lot of my friends are online too, like that. But hey, what are you going to do? All right, people, thank you very much. We will see you next week. Please watch the videos during the week. Have a great weekend, guys. Love you all.
And great. See you next
later.
week.
See you guys later.